Hero of the Otherworldly Castle. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101, Preparing the Caravan. After seeing Chenping's proper acceptance of the order, Yang Song turned to the caravan. Chenping, how many people have you prepared for the caravan? Chenping replied, Your Majesty, I only prepared more than 10 people for the caravan at the beginning, but now I have to buy grain, so this number of people is a bit insufficient. The caravan was originally just to gather intelligence, sell some specialties casually, and collect some other specialties by the way, and analyze the productivity of these local civilizations from these products. Now Xiago needs a large amount of food, so this model will not work, at least not so casually. Well, go back and discuss the specific material issues with Yang Zhang as soon as possible. Remember, don't sell strategic materials. Yang Song didn't want to sell any materials such as gunpowder, production machinery, grain seeds, etc. Chenping immediately agreed. Yes, I know the importance. He is not a person who doesn't know the importance. Chenping is the head of the intelligence personnel. How can he not know what to do and what not to do? But Yang Song still mentioned this, which means that he pays attention to this aspect. Chenping left the council hall and turned the corner to the administration office, where Yang Zhang was. All departments built on both sides of the council hall, facing south, and lined up with the council hall, occupying the entire north street of this main road. Yang Zhang had been waiting for him in the administration office for a long time. Seeing Chenping coming, after each greeting, Yang Zhang took the lead and said, Director Chen, these are the products that Xiago has that can be sold now. Chenping thanked him, but there were not many items listed on the list, and it couldn't fill a piece of paper. After reading it carefully, he found that Yang Zhang also knew what could be sold and what could not be sold. Military supplies such as compasses and telescopes were not listed, in addition to ordinary goods such as cloth, pottery, wine, paper, and salt. The list also included high-end luxury goods such as silk, porcelain, gold and silver jewelry, and tea. Others, even fireworks, farm tools, cement, which are slightly related, are not listed. In addition, although large items are listed, they are all marked with the word to be determined. For example, wooden furniture. As for weapons, armor, ironware and other commodities, not to mention Chenping, the intelligence officer, even an administrative officer like Yang Zhang had never thought about it. After Chenping read the list, he thought for a while, and felt that there was no problem, so he asked, Director Yang, is there anything you need to buy? Yang Zhang replied, Xia country urgently needs only one thing, food. The more the better, all kinds of food are needed. I understand, Director Yang, this caravan still needs your business bureau to send a few people who understand business skills. Remember to keep it confidential. After Chenping knew that this caravan was not only to collect intelligence, he needed a few people who could bargain and do business. Yang Zhang immediately replied, No problem, I will prepare the people in this regard. Are 5 people enough? Chenping raised his hand and saluted, thanking him. Thank you Director Yang, 5 people are enough. Yang Zhang raised his hand in return and said, No need to thank me, this time it is related to the future of Xia country, we are all working for you. After the discussion, Chenping and Yang Zhang both came to meet Yang Song again. In the study room of the monarch's residence, the two men bowed and said, Your Majesty, I pay my respects to you. Yang Song looked at the two men and asked, What is the result of the discussion? Chenping replied, I have discussed it with Director Yang. This time, the caravan will send 150 people and 20 carriages. Then Yang Zhang explained the types of goods to Yang Song. After listening, Yang Song asked worriedly, Is the scale of such a caravan large enough? How safe is it? After listening to Cheng Sansheng's report, he knew that wars often broke out between the various territories outside the pass. If they encountered wars, it would be terrible. Chenping explained, Among these 150 people, I have estimated a battalion of 110 soldiers, which requires the support of the monarch. Among the other 40 people, 5 are from the business bureau, and the rest are all intelligence personnel under my command. Yang Song waved his hand and said, "Okay, with a battalion of soldiers guarding, the caravan will be safer." After he finished speaking, he fell into deep thought. It was a big problem to which army to dispatch this battalion of soldiers from. First of all, the militia is definitely not an option, because the confidentiality requirement is not met. Secondly, D King's infantry brigade. They have to guard the Cheyenne Pass, but there has been no fighting, so it seems that there is no problem in dispatching a battalion. Finally, there are the soldiers of the guard camp who have just finished the battle. The southern barbarians in the south have either been eliminated or escaped. Now there is nothing to do, so it should be okay. In this way, he can only choose a battalion from the guard camp and the infantry brigade of the Cheyenne Pass. After repeated comparisons, Yang Song chose to transfer a battalion of troops from the guard camp. First, because the guard camp should have no missions for a long time in the future, and second, because the guard camp is in Cheyenne City. It is convenient to dispatch, and can quickly form a caravan. After making the decision, Yang Song shouted to the outside of the door, "Come on, go call Zhang Wei, Zhao Wu, and Chang Sunsheng." After a while, the three arrived one after another. Yang Song said to Zhang Wei, "The caravan needs a battalion of soldiers to guard it, so you can transfer a battalion of soldiers to Zhao Wu." Yang Song said to Zhao Wu, who still didn't know what he was doing, "This time the caravan will be led by you. You are mainly responsible for the safety of the caravan and the marching route. For other aspects, you should listen more to the opinions of Chang Sunsheng, intelligence personnel and merchants." At this time, Zhao Wu reacted, clasped his fists excitedly, and said loudly, "I obey your orders, and will definitely live up to your trust." Yang Song was giving the idle Zhao Wu a chance, hoping that he could do it well. If not, Zhao Wu would only be a captain of the guard team beside him for the rest of his life. Yang Song asked Chang Sunsheng again, "Chang Sunsheng, this time you will be Zhao Wu's staff officer. You should know what to do for the rest, right?" Chang Sunsheng didn't say much, just raised his hand to Yang Song. He bowed and saluted, saying, "I obey your command." In order to let Chang Sunsheng go out again, in addition to Chang Sunsheng's familiarity with the customs and practices of the north, his wisdom is also very important. When Zhang Wei heard that Yang Song asked him to allocate a brigade of troops to protect the caravan, he was thinking about how to match this brigade, and soon he had it all matched in his mind. Zhang Wei clasped his fists to Yang Song and said, "I'm going to allocate a light cavalry squadron, a long-range attack squadron composed of archers, strong crossbowmen, and a close combat squadron composed of spearmen, swords, and shields. What do you think of this organization, Your Majesty?" Yang Song did not answer Zhang Wei's question, but asked Zhao Wu, "What do you think of this organization?" Zhao Wu was still very excited at this time. After hearing the questions from Zhang Wei and Yang Song, he took a few deep breaths and calmed down. "My lord, I think this organization is very good." After that, he clasped his fists to Zhang Wei and said, "Thank you, brother Zhang Wei." Zhang Wei clasped his fists in return and said, "No, I'm just following orders." Chapter 102, Caravan Departure. After getting Yang Song's permission, several people retreated one after another. Yang Song looked at the report in his hand, which recorded in detail the products that the caravan was going to sell this time, approved by him. Although it was Yang Zhang who made the list, Chen Ping who collected intelligence, and Zhao Wu who led the caravan, all of these had to be confirmed by him before they could be truly implemented. Just like the current Xia Kingdom, the administration belongs to Yang Zhang, and other departments have their own supervisors, but as long as there are cross-departmental actions or other major events, they must be approved and decided by him. In other words, Yang Song will not care about the daily management, as long as he follows the rules and regulations, and the monthly meetings are used to coordinate the actions between departments. Just like now, the caravan involves national affairs, as well as joint actions between departments, all of which are made by Yang Song. As for asking him if he is afraid of being sidelined by these ministers, he is not afraid, because he can also see the loyalty of these people from the system. It was precisely because he could see the loyalty that he asked Zhao Wu to complete this task, because since Zhao Wu became the captain of the guard, he was still loyal and dedicated, so from this point of view, he would give him a chance. Outside the north city of Cheyenne City, in a familiar venue, 20 carriages and an official caravan of 150 people officially set off. Fortunately, the dispatch of materials also takes time, so these soldiers did not take the 5-day holiday. Soldiers are drawn up very quickly. As long as the candidates are decided, the dispatch is just a matter of words. After a few days of material allocation, the prepared goods have been prepared. After resting, the soldiers are in high spirits and ready to establish merit again. Zhao Wu looked at the team with a serious face. He checked the team repeatedly several times. He would never let the opportunity given by the monarch slip away in vain. I will definitely complete the mission. He made up his mind, clenched his fists, looked up at Cheyenne City, turned his horse's head, waved his hand, and ordered, "Let's go." The entire caravan had 20 cars full of goods, and the speed was really not fast. It was only 4 or 5 kilometers per hour, about the same speed as a person walking. So Zhao Wu's order was issued for a long time, but the caravan only drove slowly for a few kilometers. Now looking back, he can even see the wall of Cheyenne City. Zhao Wu was not dissatisfied, but a little emotional. It would be better if he led an army instead of a caravan. Zhao Wu clasped his fists to Changsun Sheng beside him and said, "Mr. Changsun, I hope you can help me with this mission." Haha. Changsun Sheng laughed and said, "Captain Zhao, what are you talking about? The king asked me to travel with you, just to complete the mission without any mistakes." Changsun Sheng was also a little emotional. He went out of the customs twice, and there was a captain accompanying him, but the difference between this time and the last time was that he was not the leader, but the assistant. He also knew the purpose of the monarch's arrangement. In addition to helping Zhao Wu, it was also to be on the safe side. After all, he was from the diplomatic department, and could not be in charge of the caravan. But Zhao Wu was different. He represented the monarch, and was the perfect candidate for this mission. Because this caravan included people from the army, the administrative business bureau, and the intelligence bureau. If Changsun Sheng, the diplomatic department, was included, it was a joint mission of the 4 departments. So it was not good for Yang Song to let any of the 4 departments be the leader. Only the captain of the guard, who was the most trusted by Yang Song, could lead the 4 parties. The method of checks and balances of power had been used by Yang Song without consideration. Perhaps he himself did not realize that he was now a qualified monarch. Yang Song thought that he was just giving Zhao Wu a chance, and did not think so much. This was because in his subconscious, he felt that appointing other people was not the best choice, but if he really asked him why, he could not say it. This might be his political sensitivity. After all, as a monarch for so many years, he had learned a lot of ways to use people without realizing it. The hunting activity some time ago actually tested the reliability of the current system of Zaya State. Mobilizing the whole country to launch a war tested many things, including the reliability of the management system, mobilization capabilities, the support of the people, and the combat effectiveness of the army after organization. All these things were under the pressure of this war, and operated normally according to the predetermined design, which shows that these things are actually effective. And Zhang Wei, who won great honor in the war, made Zhao Wu feel warm. At that time, he was holding a tray, and he really wanted to exchange positions with the other party. Unfortunately, when he thought of his current position, he could only silently bless this hero, former comrade in arms, and brother in his heart. Thinking back to the beginning, they were both valued by the monarch, but unfortunately, he was not motivated and made mistakes, so that he was transferred back to the monarch when expanding the army, and the other party suddenly became the commander of an army. It's really a different fate at the same time, and now the monarch has given him this opportunity. He secretly made up his mind that he would never let it go. Never. The caravan moved forward slowly along the way, and reached the central town 2 days later. After nearly 2 months of construction, the central town is now completely different from when Changsun Sheng passed by before. Changsun Sheng looked at the town, and found that it already had the prototype of a town. Some of the houses have been built. Looking at the style, they are a bit similar to the houses in Cheyenne City, but also a bit different. The houses in Cheyenne City are brick and wood structures, while the buildings here are all made of wood, without bricks, and look more simple and rustic. because all the bricks and cement in the country are transported to Cheyenne Pass. The construction there is the top priority, so the buildings in this town are all made of wood. Whether it is a brick and wood structure or a full wood structure, these houses and buildings are very good, and there is actually no difference in living. That night, the caravan stayed in the central town for another night. This time, with the warm reception of Marianne, they also stayed in tents. After another 2 days, the caravan finally arrived at the current border of Zaya State Cheyenne Pass. In the main tent of the military camp, Lusu clasped his fists and said to Changsun Sheng with a smile on his face, "Thank you, Mr. Changsun, last time. On behalf of all the officers and soldiers of the brigade, I would like to thank you for your great kindness." Changsun Sheng dodged Lusu's salute and said, "I can't accept this gift from Staff Officer Lu. This is what you deserve. I just gave you a ride." Haha, Mr. Changsun is a good friend. This general will remember it in his heart. Deking smiled and said, "Staff Officer, you must entertain me well tonight." Deking looked at the shirking between the two people, which seemed to be going on, and hurriedly interrupted, "Otherwise a lot of time would be wasted today." "General, you are right. I was reckless. Mr. Changsun, please come this way. The banquet for you is ready. Don't worry, there is no wine." Lusu's words directly blocked Changsun Sheng's words that he wanted to refuse. Although it was a bit impolite, he also wanted to thank him. The dinner that day was a great pleasure for both the host and the guests. The next day, the caravan set out again. The pass was already several meters high, and the walls made of bricks, stones, cement, steel bars and other materials were very solid. The caravan passed through the reserved passage and came to the slope outside the pass. Following the winding road, they continued forward, and what greeted them would be an unknown new world. Chapter 103 Arrival. There was a 36-man light cavalry squadron in the caravan. The light cavalry squadron that Zhu Cheng belonged to was picked out by Zhang Wei, and together with the other 2 squadrons, they were organized into the escort brigade of this caravan. He was very happy and excited because there was another mission. When his squadron was picked out by Zhang Wei, even his captain was a little envious of him. The medal issued a few days ago was in his arms at this time. He reached out and touched it, and felt that small piece, and his heart was at ease. This mission was not to fight, but to escort the caravan. Even so, Zhu Cheng was still looking forward to it, hoping to win merit again after completing the mission. Along the way, it was much easier than the battle in the south. There were no southern barbarians for him to clean up, no tribes for him to find, and no occasional raids. There were only fixed patrols and daily routine reconnaissance, which made him feel like going on an outing. Along the way, he saw deep mountains and old forests, rivers, and streams. He also saw birds and beasts, birds singing and flowers blooming. This is completely different from the wasteland in the south. There are no beasts, only a group of large flying birds that like to eat carrion that have been following their army. This large flying bird was named carrion vulture by them. It has black feathers, only the reddish brown fluff above the head and neck, and a sharp beak like an eagle's beak, which is very ugly. It seems that there are colorful birds flying around in groups from time to time, giving him the feeling that the south and the north are completely 2 different worlds. Passing by a newly built town, watching the people sweating profusely to build houses, although it is hard work, watching the smiles of the people from time to time, let him know that his fighting is meaningful. Then passed by the often heard northern pass, Cheyenne Pass. The terrain here is indeed very dangerous, with a dangerous terrain where one man can block the pass and 10,000 men cannot open it. But what disappointed him a little was that there was no majestic pass he expected to see. This place was just a construction site, and it was still a long way from being completed. After passing the Cheyenne Pass, the relaxed atmosphere of the entire caravan suddenly changed. The previous leisure was gone, and there was only constant vigilance. Order, the light cavalry squadron sent more scouts. Captain Zhao's order was also issued in time. He heard him say, "Others, pay attention to alert." Zhu Cheng loudly clasped his fists to Zhao Wu and said, "I obey your command." After he replied, he immediately sent another squad of light cavalry to go forward to investigate. The other soldiers also began to look around and pay attention, especially those places that are easy to hide. After Zhao Wu gave the order, Chang Sun Sheng rode his horse to his side and said softly, "Captain Zhao, it's still a day or two away from the nearest city." Chang Sun Sheng was reminding the other party that there were often soldiers from the infantry brigade patrolling near the Xianqian Pass. There was no danger, and it was too early to be on guard. Zhao Wu frowned and said, "Mr. Chang Sun, I know, but just in case, I don't want to make any more mistakes." After hearing that Zhao Wu knew what was going on, Chang Sun Sheng stopped talking. What's more, Zhao Wu was right. It's better to be cautious than to be careless. And looking at Zhao Wu, he should have done enough preparations. It seems that he can worry less on this journey. It took the caravan another day and a half to reach this small town. On the way, they passed by the ruins of a small village. Chang Sun Sheng remembered that this place was collapsed by an earthquake. He also remembered the domineering look of Lord Kevin, who asked the civilians under his rule to return to the original place to rebuild their homes. Now it seems that these civilians have not gone back to rebuild their homes at all. At least the people in this small mountain village have not returned. Outside the city gate, the caravan was stopped again. Chang Sun Sheng stepped forward and shouted, "We are a caravan from the southern Xia kingdom. We have signed a trade treaty with your lord. Please open the city gate." The guard soldier stood on the city wall and replied to the caravan below, "I know you, but there are so many of you. Are you all caravans? I see you are all carrying weapons. So that's how it is." The guard soldier is pretty good. He knows how to be on guard. Chang Sun Sheng continued to shout, "We are really a caravan. Look, we have so many carriages and goods. As for these people, they are all guards. It's so chaotic outside, the caravan also needs someone to protect it." After hearing this, the soldier thought it made sense, but when he looked at the number of people outside the city, he had never seen a caravan with so many people, and hesitated for a moment. After thinking about it, he decided that it would be better to inform the lord, so he said to Chang Sun Sheng, "You wait here, I will go to inform the lord." Chang Sun Sheng turned around and explained to Zhao Wu, "The other party saw that there were so many of us, and we were carrying weapons, so they didn't dare to open the door. I told them that we were a caravan, and they have already gone to inform the owner of this city." Zhao Wu clasped his fists and said, "Thank you, sir. Fortunately, you are here, so I saved a lot of effort. It should be, Captain Zhao, if you want to thank someone, thank your majesty." Chang Sun Sheng shook his head gently, indicating that he was also sent by the lord. Zhao Wu immediately replied, "Your majesty's kindness, I will remember it in my heart, but I will never forget your hard work." Because if the caravan gained any credit this time, most of it would be attributed to him as the captain, so he had these words of thanks. Just as the two were chatting enthusiastically, the city gate in front slowly opened with a harsh sound of opening the door. When the city gate was fully opened, a familiar person came out and called them to enter the city from a distance. "It's the envoy. Come on, come on." At this time, Chang Sun Sheng remembered who this person was. It was John, the lord's treasurer who he met at the banquet, and said that he was inherited from generation to generation. Chang Sun Sheng stepped forward and bowed to John with a smile on his face, saying, "It turns out to be John the treasurer. How dare I trouble you to come in person? It's really a sin." "What are you talking about, envoy? I'm also here to abide by the trade treaty." John changed the subject and asked, "I wonder if the envoy can bring a crystal wine glass with him this time." Hearing the other party's question, Chang Sun Sheng immediately knew that it was probably the crystal wine glass he gave to Lord Kevin. After being shown off many times, these nobles, for the sake of face, probably thought that they must get one. So Chang Sun Sheng took over the conversation and replied, "Your Excellency can just call me Chang Sun Sheng or Sheng. This time I'm just a businessman, not an envoy. As for the crystal wine glasses you need, I brought some this time, but not many, because the wine glasses are very easy to break, so it is inconvenient to transport. I hope you can forgive me, but..." Chang Sun Sheng saw the disappointed look on the other party's face, and immediately changed his words and said, "But if it is His Excellency Financial Officer John, I will definitely give you one, and I won't charge you." Ha ha ha. "Sheng, you are really nice. Since you said you would give me one, I won't be polite." When John heard that Chang Sun Sheng was going to give him a crystal wine glass, He immediately laughed happily and said to Chang and Sheng kindly, "If you have any problems with your caravan, you can come to me." Chapter 104 Beginning of Trading. Chang and Sheng finally heard the words he wanted and immediately said, "Thank you very much, Sir John, I'm very grateful." He turned back to the caravan and said in Chinese, "Quickly bring a glass cup. Remember, it should be the kind that is packaged." Soon, a merchant ran over with a wooden box in both hands and handed it to Chang and Sheng. Chang and Sheng took it and handed it to John with both hands. "Sir John, please keep it well. Remember to handle it with care." The fragility of glass was not used by Chang and Sheng to deceive the other party, nor was it deliberately to raise the price that this glass cup was said to be so precious and rare. It was just that he actually brought very few of them. This thing is too fragile. In order to preserve it well, a set of shock-absorbing facilities must be prepared for these glass cups. In this way, it takes up more space, and other goods will be less. John excitedly took the wooden box and opened it immediately and saw the crystal wine glass lying quietly in the box, shining in the light from the outside world. He touched it gently with his right hand, shaking. It looked like he was caressing his lover's cheek, very gentle. "Pa." He suddenly seemed to think of something and immediately closed the wooden box. He looked around and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that no one else saw it. John said to Chang and Sheng, "You guys go into the city quickly and you can use the square outside the castle at will." Chang and Sheng bowed again and thanked him. "Thank you, sir. We will go into the city now." Then he turned and nodded to Zhao Wu. After Zhao Wu got the signal, he ordered, "Go into the city." Watching the caravan enter the city, Zhao Wu thought in his heart, "This time they entered the city in the name of the caravan. I hope they will use another identity next time." The caravan came to the square outside the castle and set up their formation. After a while, the merchants and intelligence personnel began to sell. Except for the soldiers, who were the escort team who did not know the language of this world, the other 40 people knew a little bit of the language of this world. Chang and Sheng brought this skill when he came to this world, so everyone else, including the intelligence personnel, had been trained by him. According to Yang Song, since Chang and Sheng has language skills, it is his responsibility to train some translators for Zaya. Moreover, sooner or later, he will make people in this world rush to learn Chinese. Yang Song's bold words are still far away. At this time, merchants and intelligence personnel in the square are shouting in the local language. "Come on, come on, good things from the other side of the mountain, good treasures. Take a look, it's free. Fine salt floral cloth. Good wine. Don't miss it. If you pass by, don't regret it if you miss it. Limited time sale. After today, the caravan will go to the next territory tomorrow." All kinds of hawking made John, who had been accompanying him, dumbfounded. He didn't expect these merchants to be so talkative. The hawking of the caravan brought a touch of vitality to this quiet town and made the civilians passing by stop and watch. Other small vendors and civilian beggars who heard the noise from afar all came to the street to see what was going on over there, and it was so lively. The children in the city were the happiest. They ran wildly in the streets in groups, just like they were celebrating a festival, and spread the news that a large caravan had arrived in all directions. In less than an hour and a quarter, the square was already crowded with people who came to watch the excitement. Hey, don't move. If you don't want to buy, I'm talking to you. Why are you licking salt for no reason? You must be joking. The merchants responsible for selling daily necessities were busy sweating. They were not busy because of good business, but because these people just looked and didn't buy, and they also touched everywhere. Some people even licked a mouthful of salt when they were not paying attention. As a result, of course, they were choked and looked for water everywhere. This is ceramics. Look at this beautiful white color. Touch it again. This smooth feel is more delicate than a little girl's hand. There were not many people on the other side selling luxury goods. Because of these nobles, the common people did not dare to squeeze over. John originally accompanied Chang and Sheng and the others just to show his strength and tell the various forces in the city that this caravan was protected by the Lord and him, and not to be blind and cause trouble. But now he saw the goods sold by this so-called caravan from the south. These goods made his eyes red. He had never seen so many and such rich goods before, especially the stalls selling high-end luxury goods, porcelain that he had never seen before, exquisite gold and silver jewelry, and exquisite and smooth silk that he had never heard of. Looking at these goods, if he didn't still have a little bit of reason, he would want to yell robbery. No wonder the other party found so many warriors to guard the caravan. No wonder the other party had to get through to the Lord first. As the saying goes, the king of hell is aggressive and the little ghosts are difficult to deal with. Now even he, the big ghost, can't bear it anymore. John turned to Chang and Sheng and said in a sour tone, "Your caravan is really amazing. With so many good things, they can reach us safely." Chang and Sheng laughed and retorted with tough words, "It's not our caravan that is amazing, but our Xia country is amazing." He was warning the other party not to think about anything else, and he also had a backer behind him. "Oh, Xia country? Is it the territory with 100,000 warriors that you said last time?" John frowned and asked, "Is it really that powerful?" "It's much more powerful than you think." Chang and Sheng said earnestly, "Some time ago, our country launched a war and wiped out more than 50,000 people on the other side." Chang and Sheng was not wrong in what he said, he just used a word game. He did not mention who the other party was, nor did he tell John that the 50,000 people were not the number of people killed. Sure enough, John was shocked when he heard this. He stared with his eyes wide open in disbelief and asked, "Is this true? Is it so powerful? Will it attack our territory?" After hearing about the power of the Xia kingdom, he was in disbelief at first, and then he was worried about his own safety. Chang and Sheng looked at John in surprise. He didn't expect that the other party would think about his own safety, so he comforted him. "Sir, you think too much. We are a country that values peace. This war was also provoked by the other party first." That's good, that's good." John patted his chest with peace of mind. As for why he believed Chang and Sheng's words so easily, that's because he had seen from the caravan in front of him that the southern territory was rich. Such a rich territory could not be that weak. He was the treasurer in charge of the territory's finances, and he was not stupid, so he knew how powerful wealth was. Look at the white and fine refined salt, which he rarely enjoys. Smell the aroma of wine coming to his face. This strong smell of wine made him feel a little drunk before he drank it. On the other hand, the other party classified the goods. Such high-end goods were just casually placed aside, together with other daily necessities. Although other ordinary daily necessities were not ordinary at all in his eyes. Chapter 105 Goodbye Lord. The civilians who were watching were just watching the excitement and did not really buy these goods. It was obvious that these goods were expensive at first glance, and few people really wanted to buy them. Only some local wealthy people would come to ask the price. "How much do you sell this cloth for?" A slightly fat merchant wearing a colorful robe pointed to the pile of cloth on the stall and asked the price. The Xia merchant smiled and replied to the slightly fat merchant, "Look objectively, this cloth has beautiful patterns, and it can be made into clothes, which will definitely bring out your worth. The price, 1 meter long flowered cloth only costs 100 copper coins. The cloth and silk brought by the caravan are 1 meter wide and 10 meters long. If you want to make clothes, you only need about 1 meter. To make a robe, you have to calculate according to the length of the robe." The slightly fat merchant was very happy to hear the other party's compliment, but when he heard the price, although he had prepared himself mentally, he was still surprised. 100 copper coins. With the purchasing power of this territory, if you buy food, you can buy 50 kilograms of ordinary coarse grains, which is enough for an ordinary civilian to eat for 2 months. 1 meter of flowered cloth was equivalent to 2 months of food for an ordinary civilian. This price was very high, so it was no wonder that the merchant was surprised. The merchant roughly calculated in his mind that it was useless to just buy the cloth. He also had to find a tailor to make ready-made clothes, which would cost another sum of money. In this way, the price would be even higher. But he was a little hesitant. These flowered cloths were of high quality and beautiful patterns. They should be very comfortable and face-saving to wear as clothes. He gritted his teeth and said to the Xia merchant, "Give me 3 meters of this green canvas, so I can go back and make a robe to wear." When the Xia merchant heard that the fat man wanted to buy 3 meters of flowered cloth, He smiled even more happily and immediately shouted loudly, "This distinguished guest has purchased 3 meters of green flowered cloth." The Zaya merchant shouted so loudly, and other onlookers immediately cast envious eyes on the slightly fat merchant. Envious eyes and surprised exclamations filled the square in an instant. The chubby businessman was very pleased to hear the envious exclamations from time to time. His heart, which was originally a little painful, was now full of satisfaction. This is also the reason why the Zyagro businessman shouted loudly. After all, people are vain. The shout of the Zyagro businessman made other people who were still hesitating come to buy goods. Unfortunately, most people hurriedly retreated as soon as they heard the price and dared not come forward to watch, for fear that they would accidentally damage these expensive goods, and they could not afford to pay. Only a small number of local people with a little capital paid to buy, but they did not buy much. Most of them just wanted to show their faces in front of so many people for the shout of the Zyagro businessman. The powerful and wealthy people on the other side were also surprised to see these exquisite goods, especially the smooth silk. They had never seen such noble materials before. When they asked about the price, they were surprised. 1 meter of silk, 10 gold coins. This made many dignitaries unable to afford it. Just 1 meter of silk was enough for them to spend for 1 or 2 years. With such a high price, it was not for making clothes, but for worship. But at first glance, these dignitaries all wanted it, especially the noble ladies and young ladies. Looking at these gorgeous silks, they were fascinated. They held a corner of the silk, gently stroked it, and couldn't let it go. "Master, please buy some of this silk, please." A noble lady turned around and begged a fat man beside her, "I only need a little bit. I want to make a handkerchief." After hearing this, Chang Sun Sheng introduced with a smile, "Ladies and young ladies, this silk can not only be used to make handkerchiefs, but also made into close-fitting pajamas. Wearing such silky pajamas to sleep is the greatest enjoyment in the world." Now Chang Sun Sheng no longer looked like an envoy of a country, but had completely turned into a mercenary trader. These dignitaries were originally hesitant to buy some silk for handkerchiefs, not to mention buying enough to make pajamas. Isn't this asking for their lives? So, at this moment, they looked at Chang Sun Sheng with a bit of a wrong look in their eyes. But under the soft and hard persuasion of their wives and daughters, they all bought a little more or less. But the extremely high price really made it a bit difficult for people in these border towns to afford it. In the next period of time, it seems that they can only save money. Chang Sun Sheng saw the look in these people's eyes, but he didn't care. This was just part of the plan. After spending a whole afternoon in the hustle and bustle, the dozens of people in charge of operating the goods in the caravan were not very tired, but their mouths were a little dry. After all, they shouted for an entire afternoon. But there were still not many people who came to buy. After an afternoon, very few goods were sold. Compared with the entire caravan's 20 carts of goods, the sales volume of the entire afternoon was just a drop in the bucket. It seemed as if the effort of an afternoon was wasted, but it was not the case. Because the reputation of the exquisite and luxurious goods of the caravan has spread throughout the city, no one went back to doubt it. So at night, in John's mansion, Chang Sun Sheng exchanged a set of tableaux for a banquet led by him. And the people invited to the banquet, including Lord Kevin, all the powerful and noble people in the city. Since you all want the goods of the caravan, but don't have enough funds, then Chang Sun Sheng will give these people a chance. An opportunity to barter. What he needs is food, and these goods are what these people want. He believes that these people should give him a satisfactory answer tonight. The last time he came, it was the owner of this place who held a banquet for him. This time, he will also hold a banquet for them to get what he wants. This may be another type of return. The banquet was held in a local buffet restaurant. At this time, the banquet had just begun, but the hall was already full of guests. "The Lord is here." With a loud shout from the doorman, Lord Kevin walked into the banquet hall under the escort of the guards. Kevin handed his coat to the guard, waved his hand, and asked the guard to leave the banquet hall. He laughed and said, "Is this lord not late?" Chang Sun Sheng saw that the biggest protagonist of the day had arrived, stepped forward quickly, and said with a smile on his face, "Lord Kevin, welcome, welcome, you are just in time. So it's an envoy." This time, when this lord heard that you were hosting the banquet, this lord came right away. When Kevin saw Chang Sun Sheng, it was as if he saw Shan Ke Tangzi, with a smile on his face with a trace of greed. Doing business on his territory, how could Kevin, who always called him lord, not know? John was sent by him to see what treasures this big caravan had. Not long ago, after listening to John's report, he was very surprised. He didn't expect that this caravan was selling all treasures. He was also looking forward to tonight's banquet, because he came tonight, and he would not be prepared to go back empty-handed. Chapter 106 Two Banquets. Long time no see, how are you these days, Mr. Kevin? Chang Sun Sheng greeted him as usual, as if he didn't hear Kevin's greed. Kevin replied calmly, I'm very good, but Mr. Kevin, is it difficult to do business today? Chang Sun Sheng immediately heard the other party's bad intentions, laughed, and said nonchalantly, thanks to you, everything is fine, but I didn't expect this place. Chang Sun Sheng didn't say the second half of the sentence, but he believed that the other party had understood what he said. After all, this is someone else's territory, and it's not good to say it too clearly. Sure enough, when the other party heard this, his face immediately fell, and Chang Sun Sheng took out something and handed it to the other party before the other party got angry. Kevin looked at the long crystal bottle in his hand and asked curiously, what is this? He was really curious about what was in the crystal bottle, and as for the dissatisfaction just now, he temporarily forgot it. Kevin thought to himself, if this gift doesn't suit his heart, then don't blame him for being rude. Chang Sun Sheng smiled and said, this is one of the fine wines of our country, called Scarlet. In fact, it was just ordinary wine, or the kind of sweet and cheap wine. Sir Kevin, the fine wine is carried in such a precious crystal bottle, and I don't need to say anything else, right? The wine that Chang Sun Sheng brought was to satisfy the tastes of these people. He still remembered the wine he drank at the banquet last time, which was sweet and had no taste of wine, so he prepared such a wine that suits the taste of the locals. Chang Sun Sheng continued, Sir Kevin, such fine wine must be paired with a crystal wine glass to complement each other. First look at the scarlet color of the fine wine, then ask about the charming wine aroma, and finally taste it gently. That taste, wow. After hearing Chang Sun Sheng's description, Kevin wanted to try it immediately, but unfortunately, his crystal wine glass was not with him. But he really couldn't help it, so he turned back and shouted, come here, go to the castle, and bring me the crystal wine glasses that I treasure. Remember to be careful. After Kevin finished his instructions to the guards outside the door, he turned around and said to Chang Sun Sheng with a smile again, Your Excellency is still as generous as ever. No, I just admire your magnanimity. This is just a small respect for your admiration. Chang Sun Sheng prepared more than this for this banquet. In order to achieve his goal, he put a lot of effort into preparation. Sir Kevin, please come this way. The banquet will start soon, and I have also prepared some small gifts for everyone here. Chang Sun Sheng deliberately raised the volume of the second half of the sentence so that others could hear it. When the Lord Kevin arrived at the banquet, while Chang Sun Sheng was talking to Kevin, other dignitaries also gathered around, so they actually heard everything Chang Sun Sheng said. After hearing that Chang Sun Sheng had prepared gifts for everyone present, these people became a little expectant and praised Chang Sun Sheng's generosity loudly. Chang Sun Sheng nodded to John, and when John saw it, he clapped his hands. A team of waiters lined up in two teams and walked into the banquet hall with trays. One team was holding a pottery jar, and the other team had a group of small wine glasses on the tray. Judging from the material, it should be the porcelain sold by this caravan. Chang Sun Sheng said loudly, come on, everyone, please try the strong liquor from our country. Watching the dignitaries pick up the wine glasses as big as bullseyes under the guidance of the waiters, they looked at him puzzledly, as if blaming him for his stinginess. After seeing everyone holding a glass, Chang Sun Sheng explained, this fine wine is as rosy as water, and it cuts like a knife when it enters the throat. It is very fiery. Therefore, it is not that I'm stingy, but only with this small wine glass can I better taste this fine wine. This is the small gift he prepared for these dignitaries. Xiago Beijiu. In addition to letting these people taste the real fine wine, it also has the intention of promoting it. Good wine is not afraid of deep alleys, but it is afraid that these people do not know the goods. The dignitaries looked at the sips of wine in the exquisite small wine glasses in their hands, and were very confused. This wine looks very much like white water, but I don't know if it is as strong as he said. Chang Sun Sheng also held the same small wine glass, raised it high, and said, "Welcome everyone, I'm very happy, I will drink first as a respect, everyone please. Cheers." After speaking, he drank the wine in the glass in one breath, and breathed a long sigh of relief. Others also imitated him, shouted cheers, and drank the glass of wine in one gulp. However, when the wine entered their mouths, these people felt something was wrong. Wanting to vomit but reluctant, he could only swallow it with a red face. Suddenly, when have these people at the scene ever drunk such a strong wine? It was like a knife cutting down the throat all the way to the stomach. One by one, they couldn't help but exhale the wine, and then they recovered. At this time, they looked at each other and saw that everyone's face was red from the spiciness. This wine, what a strong wine. What kind of wine is this? After waiting for a while, everyone came back to their senses, and they praised and sighed one by one. Some people were already drunk after a glass of wine. What kind of wine is this? Kevin also asked with a red neck and heavy breathing. Chang Sun Sheng laughed and said, "Sir Kevin, this wine comes from our country. Is this wine very strong and flavorful?" "Yes, the wine is strong, but it's a bit too strong." Kevin savored it carefully for a while, and was still very satisfied. Chang Sun Sheng explained, "It is precisely because it is so strong that we heroes should drink it, don't you think so?" In order to prevent these people from being unable to bear the strong liquor, he deliberately mixed it with water before the banquet, but he didn't expect these people to be so unbearable. From time to time, everyone at the scene came back to the taste, and they all praised loudly, all holding it and drinking it one mouthful at a time, but no one dared to drink it in one gulp. When the banquet entered the happy stage, Chang Sun Sheng also held a small blue and white porcelain wine glass, which was filled with fine wine from his country, and walked around, and would also say a few polite words to people who were familiar with him. For a while, Chang Sun Sheng became the protagonist of this banquet. In the high-end tavern on the other side, the caravan also prepared another banquet. This banquet was for the merchants in the city, and it was hosted by a merchant from the caravan. This banquet was aimed at the part of the people who had money but no power. The scene was not much different, but there was no gift-giving link. Chang Sun Sheng held these two banquets to complete the task. Although banquets are cliché, they are the fastest and most convenient social occasions for communication without a legitimate reason. Banquets are not as rigid and dull as meetings. Accompanied by fine wine and delicious food, it is the best thing to have a relaxed conversation with a smile on your face. When the banquet reaches its climax, Chang Sun Sheng and the caravan will reveal the ultimate purpose of their banquet. You know, there is no banquet in the world that is free of charge and eats for no reason. Chapter 107 Barter. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 kinds of dishes, Chang Sun Sheng saw that the time was almost up, so he walked up to the high platform at the innermost part of the hall, faced the many dignitaries below the stage, cleared his throat, and said loudly, "Ahem, everyone. Did you enjoy it tonight? If not, then come back next time, haha." The dignitaries below the stage looked at Chang Sun Sheng on the stage and joked with them, and they all laughed in response. Haha, of course. Enjoyed it. This strong liquor is really strong. Come back next time. Chang Sun Sheng received the response and laughed. "Everyone, I wonder what you think of the caravan I brought. I guess you all want to have some of these goods." The dignitaries below the stage all focused their attention on Chang Sun Sheng. They really wanted to buy these exquisite goods, but they were too expensive, and they were short of money, so they were very curious about what he had to say. Chang Sun Sheng immediately got to the point and said, "Everyone, I have a proposal that will allow you to get the exquisite goods I brought, and you don't have to spend a copper coin." "What is the proposal? Tell me." John was also very curious about this proposal. Although he received a gift and borrowed his mansion to hold a banquet, he also didn't know what Chang Sun Sheng was up to. Seeing these people gradually becoming agitated, Chang Sun Sheng stretched out his hand to suppress them and said, "Everyone, Please be patient and listen to me slowly." The commotion soon subsided under Chang Sun Sheng's comfort. He immediately said, "The caravan I brought is not just here to sell goods, but also to buy goods from your place. Therefore, we can barter and exchange your goods for my goods. What do you think?" These dignitaries were very excited when they heard that they were going to barter. They all secretly calculated what output they had that could be traded with the other party. John was also thinking secretly. He was a financial officer and had several taverns and a casino under him, but these were all service industries and did not produce much output. So he asked anxiously, "Sir, do you want all the goods, or just a few?" As soon as this question was asked, it shocked the others. Yes, if the goods they brought out did not satisfy the other party, wouldn't it be a waste of joy? "Yes, tell me what kind of goods you need." "Yes, my family has a wood shop. I wonder if I can exchange it for this strong liquor. My family is full of food. I don't know if the other party wants it." The dignitaries discussed their own goods one after another. People like John who had no output became even more anxious. If this continued, they could only buy them with gold coins. After hearing these discussions, Chang Sun Sheng was sure in his heart that the plan could be concluded this time, but he smiled to comfort the people in the audience and said loudly, "Don't worry, everyone. I believe you all know the goods that my caravan has brought. Now let me hear what goods you have that will satisfy me. Then tell me what you need, and I will confirm whether the deal is done based on the respective prices." This is the trading method he decided. Because he is the active party, the seller's market, the initiative is completely in his hands, and whether he wants the other party's goods is also up to him. John frowned after hearing the barter method that Chang Sun Sheng said. He also heard that the other party was now completely in control, but there was no way who told the other party to have the goods he wanted. After Chang Sun Sheng's voice fell, the scene cooled down for a while. No one dared to take the initiative to trade, for fear of being rejected by the other party. It was one thing that the transaction was not successful, but the most important thing was that it was rejected in front of so many people, which was too embarrassing. After a long while, seeing that the scene became awkward, it seemed that this opportunity that finally appeared was about to be missed, and everyone became anxious. "This lord has food. I wonder if food can be used for trading?" Kevin also has the goods he wants. In addition to fine wine, there is also silk that is praised by others. This is what he wants most. Moreover, as the lord of this place, he has the most food in his hands. As the saying goes, if you have food in your hands, you will not be panicked. Therefore, Kevin will speak first. He believes that no one will refuse such hard currency. Here it comes. Chang Sun Sheng's eyes lit up, and he said secretly, laughing, "Since your lord has spoken, I will definitely agree to this transaction. I just don't know what goods you want in my hand." In his plan, no matter who it is, no matter what kind of goods are proposed, they will definitely agree for the first time, leaving a more talkative impression on others. After encountering unsatisfactory goods next time, they can discuss again. Moreover, according to Chang Sun Sheng's calculations, in the first transaction, the goods that the other party takes out are very likely to be common and easy to sell goods, and such goods are most common among grains. Therefore, the first transaction is very likely to be grain. After hearing that Chang Sun Sheng agreed to use grain as a barter commodity, Kevin smiled with satisfaction and said, "This lord wants a lot, but I don't know what price you will give for the grain." "Haha, lord, just ask. As long as my caravan has it, I will definitely satisfy you." Chang Sun Sheng was confident. That was why he set such a high price for these shipped goods during the day. Now he has the confidence to bargain. Kevin nodded and said directly, "Okay. I want 10 pieces of silk, 10 jars of liquor, 10 kilograms of refined salt, 10 pieces of fine floral cloth, 10 pieces of porcelain, and 10 kilograms of tea." Kevin's lion-like mouth scared Chang Sun Sheng a lot. The look in his eyes when he looked at Kevin was a little strange. Is he crazy, or does he not know the value of these goods? Chang Sun Sheng listened to Kevin's request quietly, without saying anything more. He just quoted a price expressionlessly, saying, "Since your excellency the lord has a request, I will provide you with these goods for only 10,000 tons of grain." He was afraid that the other party would not understand the unit of ton, so he explained to Kevin how much 10,000 tons of grain there were. When the other party heard that he wanted so much grain, he shouted in disbelief, "You actually want so much grain? Are you crazy? This is a random price. Do you still want to do business?" Kevin originally wanted to test whether the other party had so many goods, but he didn't expect that the other party really had, which made him embarrassed, so he made such angry words. "Your Excellency the Lord, since you can't accept this price, we can still negotiate. Why bother to get angry?" Chang Sun Sheng also knew the other party's little calculation, and for the sake of the mission, he had to appease the other party. Although he knew that this transaction would not be so smooth, he didn't expect that the person who came to make trouble was right in front of him, and he was the lord of this place, which made him a little difficult. Chang Sun Sheng thought for a moment and asked, "How much food can you provide? I will decide the price I can accept, based on the amount of food you provide. Is that okay?" Chapter 108, Harvest by both sides. In order to complete the first transaction smoothly, he endured and tried his best to provide convenience for the other party. There was no other way, or this was to complete the task. Kevin also found that he had acted a little too much, so he followed the step given to him by Chang Sun Sheng and thought about the food he had, but after thinking for a long time, he still couldn't make up his mind. John saw the Lord's appearance and knew the other party's difficulties. He hurried forward and whispered in Kevin's ear. After hearing what his financial officer said, Kevin nodded repeatedly and said loudly to Chang Sun Sheng, "This lord can provide 3,000 kilograms of food. See what good things you can exchange for." 3,000 kilograms of food, according to the price of this place, is 1,000 copper coins of food, which is 1/10 of a gold coin. You can't buy anything with this amount. Calculated as silk, it is calculated at a high price of 10 gold coins per meter, which is only enough to exchange for a piece of silk as big as 1 square centimeter. It's really poor. Chang Sun Sheng despised the other party in his heart. After thinking for a while, he quickly replied, "My lord, if you can provide 3,000 kilograms of grain, I can trade you a piece of fine floral cloth." "What? So much grain can only be exchanged for a piece of cloth?" Kevin was very surprised when he heard the price given by Chang Sun Sheng. In his mind, so much grain can definitely be exchanged for 10 pieces of silk. Chang Sun Sheng was helpless. He had seen Lord Kevin's ignorance before, and now the other party had to add another illiterate to his impression of him. After seeing Kevin's ignorance and inability to count, Chang Sun Sheng had no choice but to explain. 3,000 kilograms of grain can be priced at 1,000 copper coins, right? After seeing John nod, Kevin also nodded and agreed to the price. Seeing that the other party agreed to the price, Chang Sun Sheng explained, 1 meter of floral cloth costs 100 copper coins, and 1,000 copper coins can buy 10 meters, and 1 roll of floral cloth happens to be 10 meters. Kevin was a little helpless when he saw his financial officer nod again. He was really poor, but John just whispered to him that there was only so much surplus food in the warehouse. As for other commodities, his lord was not much better than other dignitaries. Now he can only look at these treasures, but he can't get them or afford them. It really hurts his self-esteem. Kevin waved his hand a little bored and said, "I'd better keep these grains and forget about this deal." When Chang Sun Sheng heard that the other party wanted to forget it, this was not okay. So he turned his eyes and said, "Since your lord thinks it's too little, then I will sell it to you at half price. This is just for your sake. Others can't enjoy this discount." He used one of the killer tricks of sales, discount promotion. He was not afraid that the other party would not be tempted. Sure enough, Kevin was tempted and was about to agree, but the first knight, who had been watching for a long time, walked up to him and whispered in his ear. After hearing what the knight said, Kevin's face began to change, and then he hesitated a little, but after seeing the first knight's determined eyes, he asked something, and after getting the answer, he nodded. After listening to the first knight's whisper, he smiled and asked Chang Sun Sheng, "Do you really mean the discount?" After waiting for Chang Sun Sheng's affirmative answer, he continued, "Then let's have 2 large jars of strong liquor. The price of strong liquor is also 100 copper coins per catty, and a large jar is 10 catties. 1,000 copper coins can just buy 2 large jars at half price. Chang Sun Sheng frowned at first, and then said happily, "That's it. Thank you for your patronage, Lord." He agreed to the other party's transaction, but he didn't know how many dignitaries would come to trade next. After Kevin's transaction was over, other dignitaries also thought of what they wanted to trade, and offered prices one after another, waiting for the other party's consent. Kevin stood on the other side, took the crystal cup brought by the guard, poured the wine that Chang Sun Sheng gave him, and watched the ruby-like wine rolling in the transparent crystal cup. After seeing Chang Sun Sheng's gaze, he raised his cup to signal him, and with a slight smile, he looked at the lively trading scene. He didn't know what he thought of, but he drank a big sip happily and said loudly, "Good wine. Really good wine." While accepting other transactions, Chang Sun Sheng was also thinking about Kevin's inconsistent performance just now. The other party was not prepared to agree to the transaction, but it seemed that the other party was tempted by his half-price discount. The smooth progress of the transaction made him very happy, but he still cared about what the first knight said to Kevin just now. He was worried and always cared. "Sir, envoy, are you still accepting grain?" Kevin came to his senses and heard that the nobleman wanted to trade with 2 grains again, so he quickly replied, "Yes, I will. How could I not want it? How much grain are you going to trade?" Because he had already said it before, although the subsequent transactions were not half price, they also gave these nobles on the scene a 20% discount. When everyone finished trading, a total of more than 10,000 kilograms of grain were harvested. In order not to highlight his purpose, he also accepted other commodities, such as wooden crafts, daily necessities, and rough linen. There was even a nobleman who asked him if he would accept slaves. If he did, he could provide hundreds of slaves of all kinds, but when Chang Sun Sheng refused, he turned around and thought about other commodities with a little disappointment. Chang Sun Sheng was ashamed of this nobleman who blatantly bought and sold people. It was not that he did not dare to accept it, but that there was no need. He had to maintain a friendly image in these territories. He didn't want to leave the people of these territories with a bad reputation of human traffickers, which would be detrimental to the merchants of the caravan. The most important thing was that he also represented the image of the entire Zaya country on this trip, and he dared not destroy the image of his country. At another banquet on the other side, these middle-level wealthy businessmen and forces were much easier to talk to than those dignitaries, and they were all people who had been in these industries for many years, knowing that the value of these goods could only be higher, not lower. Therefore, they were very generous, ready to hoard them to raise prices, or ready to resell them if they had trade routes and become second-hand dealers. Unfortunately, because this is a remote town, these businessmen and forces do not have much capital, so they can only buy a small amount of goods they like. Or, several people join together to buy, not only barter, but also direct purchase with coins. For these, the merchants of Zaya country accept all. Although these coins are of no use to Zaya country, they can still be used abroad. At least it is easy to carry, and after arriving in other territories in the future, you can also use it directly to buy food. At this banquet, the caravan also harvested nearly 10,000 kilograms of grain. Although there were many other items, none of them were what Zaya Guo wanted. In order not to stand out, they could only trade some. In the end, as expected, the 2 banquets harvested the most grain, which added up to 20,000 kilograms. In this small marginal town, this is considered a good harvest. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, Food Transportation. With 20,000 kilograms of grain, the next step is to transport the grain safely back to the interior of the country. The next morning, all the caravan members were sorting out the goods in the backyard of the hotel. According to the plan, they were expected to stay in the city for another 2 days. In the simple hotel lobby, the solid wood tables and benches were blackened by long-term oil stains. Chang Sun Sheng and Zhao Wu walked out of the backyard and sat on both sides of a square table in the lobby on the first floor. As soon as the two sat down, a hotel staff member quickly came to the table and poured a glass of water for each of them. The man bent over and smiled flatteringly at the two, then bent over and turned away. Chang Sun-sheng withdrew his gaze from this person, who was not only a waiter of the hotel, but also the boss, and said to Zhao Wu, "We have already sold 20,000 kilograms of grain last night. Captain Zhao can ask the country to send a carriage to transport it." According to Chang Sun-sheng's observation, this person should be the owner of the hotel. After the caravan chose this hotel last night, because of his generosity and the background of the lord, the boss was even more flattering to the two. Zhao Wu nodded and confirmed competently, "No problem, I'll send someone back to notify." Chang Sun-sheng picked up the wooden cup, looked at the water in the cup, frowned, put down the cup, and stopped touching it. He looked up and said, "By the way, Captain Zhao, when you send people to transport grain, remember to ask the country to send troops for protection." Zhao Wu saw that Chang Sun-sheng did not drink the water in the cup and was about to take the wooden cup. He retracted his hand very secretly, clasped his arms around his chest, and replied, "Mr. Chang Sun, don't worry, I will definitely convey it, so that all the scoundrels will not have any chance." Chang Sun-sheng glanced at his hands clasped on his chest, took out the letter from his arms, handed it to Zhao Wu, and solemnly instructed, "Take this letter back to the person in charge of Qianqian Pass. Last night's banquet was a bit unusual. Just in case, it is better to set off early." After saying this, he sighed and said to himself, "I hope I'm overthinking." The so-called first knight said something in Kevin's ear last night, which made Kevin look like that. He thought about it for a long time last night. Apart from robbing on the way, he had no other choice. But he was not afraid. With the military strength of this territory, as long as he was prepared, he could not turn the tables. After Zhao Wu saw that Chang Sun-sheng had nothing else to say, he put away the letter handed to him by Chang Sun-sheng, and got up, and walked towards the backyard. He walked quickly and eagerly, as if there was some terrible monster in this hall driving him. Finding the captain of the light cavalry squadron, Zhao Wu ordered ZHU Cheng, you immediately send someone to deliver this letter to General D or Staff Officer Lu at Qianqian Pass. Yes, I obey your order. ZHU Cheng took the letter with both hands, clasped his fists, and received the order loudly. Zhao Wu hummed, as if he had thought of something, and added, "Send 2 soldiers, go immediately, right away, right away." Yes. After receiving Zhao Wu's order, ZHU Cheng immediately sent 2 light cavalrymen, took the letter written by Chang Sun-sheng, and galloped towards the south at full speed. ZHU Cheng had long been accustomed to following orders on the battlefield. Even if Zhao Wu didn't say it, he knew that the military situation was urgent and could not be delayed. Go. Trample trample. In less than a quarter of an hour, the sound of horses galloping was heard outside the hotel. Hearing the sound of horses' hooves in the distance, Chang Sun-sheng relaxed his frown. Now, he can do business in this small town for 2 days with peace of mind. After adjusting his collar and lapels, Chang Sun-sheng saw the other members of the caravan driving the carriage to the street. He walked out of the hotel, stood at the door, and shouted to the caravan with a smile, "Let's go and set up a stall." The merchants of the caravan also smiled and replied, "Okay, we are ready." Talking and laughing, he drove the carriage and continued to the small square outside the castle to set up a stall. Lord Kevin has agreed to use this square during the caravan's business to repay the friendship of the various gifts given to him by the caravan. After the banquet last night, Chang Sun-sheng basically emptied all the excess food in this territory. As for why he continued to set up a stall here, that's because in addition to Lord Kevin's request, Chang Sun-sheng had to wait for the arrival of the carriage carrying grain. Only after the handover was completed, he could really put his mind at ease. The small town is not far from Qianqian Pass, only 50 kilometers. 2 light cavalrymen rushed to Qianqian Pass that afternoon under the whip of the horses and galloped non-stop. The 2 light cavalrymen were so tired that they could hardly breathe. With the help of the soldiers inside the pass, they came to the main tent of the infantry brigade. "General, Staff Officer, this is the expedited messenger sent back by the caravan." The 2 soldiers who were helping put down the 2 exhausted light cavalrymen and reported with a fist. D. King hummed and said, "You can go down." After seeing the soldiers go out of the main tent, he turned to the two light cavalrymen and said, "Thank you for your hard work. Give me the things." The two men were panting, sweating, leaning on their knees, and looking at each other. One of the soldiers took out a wrapped package from his arms with trembling hands. Although his hands were trembling, he held the package very steadily when he took it out of his arms. Lusu stepped forward at this time and took back the package with both hands. When he took the package, he used a little force to take it from the other's trembling hands. After retrieving the package, Lusu immediately opened it, took out the heavily wrapped letter, handed it to Deking, and said, "General, please read it." Deking hurriedly took the letter with both hands, and only after seeing that it was sealed intact did he tear open the envelope, unfold the letter, and quickly browsed it. In less than a few breaths, Deking handed the letter in his hand to Lusu and shouted, "Come here." After Lucy took the letter, he also read it quickly. When the two personal soldiers walked into the main account, he had already read the contents of the letter, put the letter away, and waited for Deking's further orders. "One of you two goes to notify the horse team in the pass, let them get ready, and set off immediately to transport grain outside the pass." Deking gave the order and said, "The other one goes to pass the message to the regular camp, let the soldiers of the regular camp get ready to go." "Yes, General." After the two personal soldiers clasped their fists and accepted the order, they left the main account. After Deking gave the order, he turned to Lusu and said, "This time, you, the staff officer, will go there in person." "Yes, General." Lusu also knew that the grain transportation could not be delayed, so he clasped his fists and accepted the order. Then he also left the main tent and took the two messengers who were taking a short break out of the main tent. The grain transport team in Cheyenne Pass had been prepared long ago, with a total of 50 carriages. Each carriage can transport 2 tons of grain, which is 2,000 jin, kilograms. The harvest in the small town this time is 20,000 jin, and only 10 carriages are needed to transport it. The other carriages will follow the caravan to other territories to carry grain with the team. This is also part of the plan. If it is not enough in the future, more carriages will be sent. At the beginning, the caravan went to this small town for the purpose of doing business, and it was impossible to send so many people blatantly, so the empty carriages behind were left waiting in Cheyenne Pass. Now that the deal has been done, the caravan can use the excuse that there is too much food and the caravan cannot transport it to send more convoys. Otherwise, with the size of the convoy behind, this small city will never open the city gates to let them in. There is no need to talk about a deal, let alone food. Chapter 110. Surprise outside the city. It was the noon of the third day after the caravan arrived in this small town, and also the noon of the second day after the grain transport convoy set out. Two light cavalrymen entered the city first, and after finding Zhao Wu and Chang San Sheng in the square, they reported to them the news that the convoy was about to arrive. Chang San Sheng was so happy that he almost jumped up and shouted to Zhao Wu, who was patrolling the square and looked like a security captain, "Captain Zhao, come quickly." Because Zhao Wu did not understand the language of this world, he could not help and did not know how to do business. He was bored and had to come here to maintain order. When Zhao Wu heard Chang San Sheng's call, his eyes immediately lit up and he crossed the distance between the two in a few steps and said, "Mr. Chang San, is there any news?" Because the messenger did not see Zhao Wu at first, he only saw Chang San Sheng, who was very conspicuous in the crowd, so he only told Chang San Sheng the news of the arrival of the convoy. Chang San Sheng pointed at the two returning light cavalrymen who came to report the news and said, "Yes, the caravan is just outside the city. Let's quickly notify the trading partners in this small town and ask them to prepare the food and deliver it immediately." Zhao Wu also saw the two light cavalrymen. After nodding to them, he replied to Chang San Sheng, "No problem. I'll close the stalls here and prepare to hand over the goods." Due to the lack of manpower, there were only a few dozen people who could speak the local language, so the stalls in this square had to be closed. Besides, after setting up the stalls in this square for 2 days, nothing was sold at all, and there were not even a few ordinary civilians who came to watch the excitement. Setting up a stall here is often just for show. Now that the caravan has arrived, there is no need for them to continue to dawdle. The stores were quickly closed, and all the goods were sorted and loaded onto the carriages. In the bewildered look on the faces of the guards guarding the city, the entire caravan left the city. The caravan passed quickly, so the guards guarding the city didn't react at all, and the caravan people should have all left the city. The guards all knew that there was a big caravan in the city. The goods they bought were all good stuff. Many of the goods were beyond the reach of even the nobles. They had also gone to see the excitement. They were just chatting about the caravan. They had not expected that the caravan would pass right under their noses. The neat and orderly team made the guards who were guarding the city a little dazed. When they came to their senses, the caravan had already left the city. They came out of the city for the safety of the caravan. The upcoming delivery was also carried out outside the city. Everyone was notified. As for the explanation to these dignitaries, businessmen, and forces, Chang Sun Sheng had people say that because there were too many items to be traded, especially food, there was not enough space in the city, so the handover could only be carried out outside the city. This reason was also reasonable. After all, it was a transaction, so there was no difference between inside and outside the city. After seeing everyone in the caravan quickly leave the city, Chang Sun Sheng nodded to Zhao Wu, and then Zhao Wu gave the order, send the signal. A soldier took out a cylinder-like object as big as a wine glass and lit the fuse below with a fire stick. With a short hissing sound, a firework shot out from the cylinder with a bang, and exploded again with a bang in the sky. This is what Zhao Wu called a signal. A disposable special firework. This thunder in the clear sky made many people in the small town look up at the sky in surprise. Seeing that there were no dark clouds, they waited for a while, and nothing happened, so they continued to do their own things. I just thought in my heart that since the earthquake, strange things have happened one after another. First, a powerful territory appeared on the other side of the mountain range, and their remote small territory was no longer the most remote one. Then, the strange habits of the lords and nobles came from nowhere. For this reason, not only did they drive a woman in the tavern crazy, but they also made another woman commit suicide by jumping into a well. Then there was this big caravan in the past few days. The goods sold were all new and frighteningly expensive, so expensive that the nobles with strange habits couldn't afford them. Finally, there was the thunder in the clear sky just now. How could there be thunder on such a sunny day? It's really a bit scary to think about it. I hope nothing strange will happen next. After the signal was sent, a carriage came out from the end of the avenue in the distance, followed by another one, and one after another. Carriages appeared in front of the city guards one after another. These guards on the city wall saw with their own eyes a small glowing dot flying into the sky from the caravan, and heard two explosions with their own ears. First a slight one, and then the thunder in the sky. Seeing the carriage team and army appearing with thunder, the city guards thought that someone in the caravan knew some kind of magic. They were so scared that they forgot to close the city gate. When the opposing team was about to arrive at the city guards reacted, hurriedly sounded the alarm, closed the city gate, and looked at the huge team under the city with horror. They could only pray in their hearts that the people under the city were not coming to attack the city. Otherwise these gatekeepers would only be cannon fodder. Zhao Wu and Chang Sun Sheng had no idea of attacking the city, so many people came just in case. Of course, if these dignitaries in the city were unwilling to deliver the goods according to the agreement, then so many of them would not come in vain. Chang Sun Sheng had a backup plan, so he handed the goods to the other party first, and now it was time for the other party to fulfill his promise. The caravan waited leisurely outside the city. When the dignitaries in the city knew the news of this place, he believed that, after seeing his own people, the other party would open the city gate and deliver what they wanted. After a while, some people in fancy clothes appeared on the top of the city. Looking at the patterns and materials of the clothes, aren't these the flowered cloths sold by the caravan? I didn't expect that the other party could make clothes in 1 or 2 days and wear them properly. They were really eager. Chang Sun Sheng looked at the incongruous clothes with a little amusement, just like a monkey wearing a funny coat, jumping up and down. A monkey in a crown. This was Chang Sun Sheng's first impression after seeing these people. Originally, with their rough fabrics and no technical rendering, the robes made were not considered anything, but when they saw the exquisite fabrics produced in Zaya country turned into local clothing styles in the hands of the other party's tailors, they looked so annoying. Your Excellency the envoy, what's the matter with you? Hearing the voice and looking at the figure, Chang Sunsheng knew that it was John who was shouting at them. Looking at the side, there was a man with grey hair. It should be Kevin. This lord has also reached the city wall. Chang Sunsheng walked out of the queue and shouted to Kevin on the city wall, "Sir Kevin, this is a team of transport carriages from our country. We are here to trade. Quickly open the city gate and transport all the trade goods of our caravan out." Chapter 111 Shocking the small town. He was reminding the other party that there was a reason why we came with so many people, so don't be ignorant and do anything to violate the contract. Even if the war starts now, Xiago is standing on the moral high ground and is not afraid of what other territories say. Chang Sunsheng believes that, after seeing the strength of his side with his own eyes, the other party will make a smart choice. A regular battalion of a regular infantry brigade has a total of 1,100 people. The guard battalion in Xiago is modified according to the organization of the infantry brigade, so the number of people is the same. The difference is that the regular battalion has a siege battalion and an artillery battalion, with 18 siege artillery and 27 field artillery respectively. The combat method of the regular battalion is also different from that of the guard battalion. There will be no grouping. The whole battalion is a combat unit, and they must cooperate and rely on each other. In addition to the artillery battalion and the siege battalion, the regular battalion also has a regular soldier formation, a long-range attack formation, and a light cavalry battalion. These arms cannot form a strong enough combat effectiveness when taken out alone. Only when the whole battalion is formed into a whole, the combat effectiveness will soar. The conventional army formation and the long-range attack army formation form the central army. The light cavalry brigade guards the two wings, and the two types of artillery from the siege brigade and the artillery brigade are in the middle. Wherever the sword points, the enemy will be terrified. And now outside this small town, there is not only this conventional battalion, but also a guard brigade to guard the caravan. The total force has reached the highest peak in the history of Zaya's foreign expeditions, 1,210 people. At this time, this conventional battalion of the infantry brigade has been deployed, and the 18 siege artillery is very far back, lined up in a row, at the end of the formation. The field artillery of the artillery brigade is in the middle of the formation, lined up in 2 rows, staggered. All the artillery in the entire battalion is just waiting for an order. They will load gunpowder and shells, strike the flintlock, and pour out the anger of Zaya. Staff Officer Lu, I didn't expect that we would meet again so soon. After seeing that the other party had not responded for a long time, Chang Sunsheng stopped waiting and asked Zhao Wu to lead the escort brigade to continue waiting here. He then came to the central command of the regular camp, ready to meet the commander of this camp and discuss how to deter the other party. After all, as long as the goal can be achieved by deterrence, there is no need to really launch a huge siege. He didn't expect that it was Lu Su who was commanding here in person. Lu Su was looking at the city head in the distance with a monocular. When he heard Chang Sunsheng's voice, he turned around and said with a fist, "Haha, Mr. Chang Sun, why do I feel that this transaction is not going well?" Chang Sunsheng replied with an apologetic look, "I'm sorry to make you laugh, Staff Officer Lu. The transaction is still going well. It's just to be on the safe side. I have troubled you to make this trip. It's really a sin." On the other side of the city head, Kevin was very anxious and worried. What should he do? He hadn't had time to recruit his army, and the city couldn't be defended with just the few guards in it. So he turned around and yelled at the first knight, "The first step of your plan failed. What do you say we should do?" The first knight looked at the army outside the city and was very angry. He stroked his chest and replied to Kevin, "Don't worry, my lord, I will defend you to the death. I'm not asking you to guard me, but how to get these people to leave." Kevin pointed at the army lined up outside the city and yelled loudly to the first knight in front of him. After yelling, he felt that there was something wrong with what he said, so he added, "Defending this lord to the death is what you should do." The army he pointed at, the neat and orderly queues, the weapons and armor shining in the sun, and the black mass in the middle of the unknown thing. It was obvious that they were not easy to mess with. The first knight didn't say anything because he didn't know what to do to make the army outside the city retreat, so he could only lower his head and wait for the Lord's decision. My lord, I have a way to make the people outside the city leave. Kevin heard someone say that he had a way and turned around to see that it was his second knight who was reporting to him. He looked at the second knight. Although he had great command ability, he was usually taciturn, not good at communication, and his martial arts were not as strong as the first knight, so he could only be the second. Kevin was overjoyed to hear that this knight who had always been very talented had a way, and said, "Tell me quickly, what is the way?" The second knight replied calmly, "My lord, the army outside the city was summoned by the people of the big caravan. As long as we meet the needs of this caravan, they will naturally retreat." When Kevin heard this, his originally happy face collapsed, leaving only a bitter face. He thought it was a way. Didn't he know why these troops came? There is no difference between this method and no method. He just didn't want to pay his own wealth and wanted to get something for nothing. This suggestion was made by the first knight, which is why he scolded the first knight just now, but who knew it would become like this now? Kevin thought that the other party was in his territory and would not dare to act recklessly. Besides, this was just a larger caravan. Even if something happened, the other party was still so far away from his territory and could not do anything to him. Who would have thought that the other party's army would come so suddenly, so quickly, and in such large numbers? It caught him off guard. The first knight kept his head down. Seeing that his lord did not continue to blame him, he looked outside the city, looked at these armies, roughly calculated their strength, rolled his eyes, came close to Kevin, and said, "My lord, I have a suggestion." Kevin looked at him in confusion, nodded, and motioned him to speak quickly. Unexpectedly, the first knight leaned over again. After hearing what the first knight said, Kevin's eyes gradually brightened, and his eyes looking outside the city suddenly changed. He looked at the first knight with appreciation and ordered, "Tell them to prepare food and send it to the people outside the city." The second knight was very curious. What did the first knight in front of him say to the Lord that made the Lord, who was just stingy, become so generous now? His intuition told him that this matter should not be that simple. Outside the city, Chang's Sheng, who had been waiting for a long time, also saw Lu Su at this time. The two had just finished a few words and were about to ask the battalion commander to order 2 more shots to deepen the deterrence. The gate of the small town in front slowly opened. Lu Su and Chang Sheng smiled at each other, looking at the generations of food carried out from the city, piled up on the open space outside the city gate. The other party was submissive. Because of the first knight's suggestion again, Chang Sheng and Lu Su's plan to fire 2 shots failed, and the small town was lucky to escape the disaster, which meant that the people of this world could not see the power of artillery. For them, it was not known whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. Chapter 112 continued to set off. Chang Sheng laughed loudly and said to Lu Su, "Staff Officer Lu, it seems that you have made a wasted trip. It's really a sin." Lu Su smiled lightly and said, "It doesn't matter. It's all for the Xia kingdom, and for the monarch. It's not as hard as above. Besides, we didn't run for nothing." Chang Sheng heard what Lu Su meant. Anyway, as long as their infantry brigade was dispatched, whether there was a battle or not, the credit for this caravan would be their infantry brigade. As for whether Chang Sheng deliberately sent out the infantry brigade, you have to ask Chang Sheng himself. Chang Sheng bowed to Lu Su again and said, "I will go to receive the food first." Lu Su clasped his fists in return, hummed, and then picked up the monocular telescope and looked at the city wall and the city gate to prevent any changes. Chang Sheng returned to the caravan and nodded to Zhao Wu, who was looking over. He didn't say much. After Zhao Wu confirmed it, he gestured to the carriage team and waved towards the city gate. The wagon team received instructions and drove out a 4-wheeled freight wagon. The wagon arrived at the place where supplies were piled outside the city, and several people got off the wagon and began to check. The transport wagon team escorted by the regular battalion was originally part of the caravan, but in order to make the caravan less abrupt, it was left at the Cheyenne Pass, so it was normal to accept Zhao Wu's command. Soon, several inspectors at the city gate quickly checked it out, waved to Zhao Wu, and sent a confirmation signal. Zhao Wu breathed a sigh of relief and waved to the wagon team again, asking them to load the goods quickly. Following Zhao Wu's command, the goods were quickly transported over, and then the quantity was counted. "Captain, sir, these goods are the items we trade, but there are 20,000 kilograms of grain, and other items seem to be a little more." Chang Sunsheng nodded in understanding. This Lord Kevin's control over his territory is a little greater than imagined. But he was not too surprised. This was all within his expectations. No matter how small the territory was, no matter how ignorant and innumerable the Lord was, he would still have such control over his territory. Kevin handed over all the gains from the 2 banquets at once, fearing that the other party would find an excuse not to withdraw the troops. Chang Sunsheng found Lu Su again and bowed, saying, "Colonel Lu, please escort these 20,000 kilograms of food back first. I still have to continue to do business." Lu Su smiled, clasped his fists and said goodbye. "No problem, then goodbye." Lu Su originally came to support the caravan. Now that the matter is over, and his face has been exposed, it is time to go back. "Goodbye. I'll treat Staff Officer Lu and General D to a drink when I come back." Haha. After saying goodbye to Lu Su, Chang Sunsheng returned to the caravan and reported to Zhao Wu, "Staff Officer Lu has escorted these 10 carts of food back, and we should continue to set off." Zhao Wu nodded in understanding and ordered the caravan. The caravan is leaving. This time the caravan brought the remaining 40 empty carriages, which can carry people and speed up the journey. Chang Sunsheng was no longer low-key. Since he had shown up, he let the remaining 40 carriages follow the caravan. Neither Lu Su nor Chang Sunsheng thought about resting outside the city for a night before leaving. It was only afternoon now, and it would be better to set off early and complete the task early. "My lord, they have retreated," the first knight happily reported to Kevin. Kevin just glanced at him and ignored him. Isn't this nonsense? He has eyes and can see the situation outside the city. Lord Kevin looked at the army gradually retreating, then looked at the caravan turning to the west, then turned around and walked down the wall, got on the carriage and headed towards the castle. In the castle hall, Kevin sat on his throne, looked at the first knight standing in the middle of the hall, and asked, "Will there be any problems with this plan?" He was not prepared this time, and was forced to make a surrender, which cost him so much. He didn't want any problems to arise next. The first knight excitedly assured, "Don't worry, Lord, we will definitely have an absolute advantage in numbers this time." Kevin thought of his plan, looked at the second knight standing aside in silence, and thought of the other party's command ability, so he said to the first knight, "Tell the plan again to the second knight." The first knight was very excited and thought that he would make greater contributions this time, but when he heard the Lord asked him to tell his plan to the second knight, he was immediately unhappy, but looking at the Lord's serious look, he had to reluctantly tell his plan to the second knight again. After hearing the plan, the second knight was a little surprised. He didn't expect the other party to be so bold, but after being surprised, he frowned and thought carefully, but he didn't think of the loopholes in this plan. Kevin looked at the second knight's thoughtful look. He asked, "Second knight, what do you think of this plan? Is there any problem?" The second knight thought for a long time, but still couldn't think of any problems. It was just that his intuition told him that this matter should not be so smooth, but his lord asked him, so he had to answer, "My lord, I didn't think of any loopholes or any problems. It's just that I feel uneasy." He only said this to himself in his heart, and didn't say it to Kevin. The second knight has always had this intuition, but he is sometimes unsure. After all, intuition is really hard to say. After hearing that his second knight had not found any problems, Lord Kevin ordered a happy first knight, sent people to monitor the caravan. After hearing the order from the Lord, the first knight who had been waiting for a long time excitedly received the order and said, "My lord is wise, my lord." Lord Kevin then ordered the second knight, "You go to recruit civilians and form an army. As for the number of people," He thought about the Zaire army he had just seen on the city wall, the equipment and the order, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes and said, "Recruit 3,000 people." He was ready to go out in a group. He didn't believe that he couldn't deal with the enemy's troops that were several or dozens of times larger than his opponent. The second knight also thought of the momentum of the army outside the city, nodded involuntarily, and accepted the order with great agreement. "Yes, I will go now." Unknowingly, a caravan that was targeting them was continuing to move forward at this time. They had to take advantage of the early time and decided to travel a little further to try to reach the small territory in the west by noon tomorrow. In the past, when Shang Tsung Sheng went on diplomatic missions outside the Great Wall, he visited the territory from east to west one by one, but this time the caravan went in the opposite direction. In addition to Kevin's territory, the caravan will start from the west and visit the other 3 small territories that had signed trade treaties before. Chapter 113 Native Civilization. As for the 4 territories, there must be other territories, but I didn't go there last time, and I just heard about them from these lords. Because their 4 territories are located at the southernmost tip of the continent and the edge of the local civilization, they are the smallest type of territories, and the lords are only at the level of lords. To their north, they know that there are 3 lords of a higher level who are closest to them, and their territories are much larger. It seems that the title of nobility in this world is proportional to the size, wealth, and power of the territory. The title is not conferred by anyone, but just like the Continental Convention, as long as you manage your territory well, when one or more of these indicators meet the standards, your title can be upgraded by yourself. This standard is hard to say, all in that thick parchment book that is as thick as a dictionary. Shang Tsung Sheng has never seen this book, but he has only heard these lords talk about it. Shang Tsung Sheng asked these lords if they had this book, but these lords told him that, because the book is made entirely of parchment, it is very expensive, and it is useless for these remote lords to buy it. Therefore, Shang Tsung Sheng asked around, but none of the 4 lords actually had this book. He was very disappointed. Shang Tsung Sheng took a step back and asked these lords where and how to buy this book. The lords' answers made him a little crazy. They didn't know anything. If they didn't even know this, how could they be lords? Shang Tsung Sheng really wanted to say this and question the other party, but his ever-present rationality prevented him from really questioning it. He asked again, "Since you don't know where to buy this book, how do you know that there is this book?" The lord's answers made him helpless, because this knowledge was also passed down from the previous generation, such as the promotion of the title and the rules that the territories cannot be occupied, all of which were passed down from the previous generation. These lords told him one thing, that is, in the middle of the continent, this book can definitely be found, and you can also look for it in the 3 barren territories in the north, and you may find it by chance. Shang Tsung Sheng was indifferent to the nonsense in the first half of the sentence, but he still listened to the second half. He learned some information from the second half of the sentence, that is, there are 3 more territories in the north, all of which are larger than This, and all of them belong to the so-called Baron. After getting the information about the northern part, Shang Tsung Sheng did not go there immediately, because it was not in his schedule. Therefore, if the caravan has a chance this time, they will go to the northern part. A larger territory, or a richer territory, means more business opportunities, and there must be more food, so their chances of completing the mission will naturally increase. Zhao Wu looked at the map in his hand. Only part of the 4 territories was very clear, and the rest were all blurry. They were drawn, based on the information he had gathered. He asked Shang Tsung Sheng, "Mr. Shang Tsung, why are there so many forces in this place? And they are all under different jurisdictions. Won't they cause chaos?" Shang Tsung Sheng glanced at the map in Zhao Wu's hand and replied, "Captain Zhao, their ideas are different from ours. There is no such thing as unification for these local civilizations and these indigenous peoples. As for whether there will be chaos, of course there will be. But generally speaking, there is order in chaos." Shang Tsung Sheng thought about it, wondering how to explain it, so that this captain, who was obsessed with making achievements, could understand, and said, "They are like small towns, but they don't have a boss. It's not that they don't have one. Their boss is that Continental Convention." Zhao Wu became even more curious. He looked at the map and compared it with the direction the caravan was heading. After finding that there was no problem, He put away the map and asked, "The Continental Convention? What is it talking about? What kind of convention is it? It actually allows these small territories to exist safely." Regarding Zhao Wu's questioning, Chang Sunsheng thought that, since he was just on his way and had nothing to do, he could just kill time, and decided to chat with Zhao Wu. He said, "I have never seen this convention, but I have only heard of it. So if you ask me, I can only say that I don't know either." Chang Sunsheng shrugged and tilted his head, indicating that he was helpless. He then said, "But I have found out some information, so I will tell you about it." As he spoke, he touched his throat, coughed twice, and cleared his throat. Seeing the other party's preparation, Zhao Wu hurriedly said, "Mr. Chang Sun, just give a brief talk. There is no need to go into too much detail." Zhao Wu regretted his previous questioning. What he feared most was this old man in the industry. He would talk endlessly and make him want to sleep. But who made him curious? He couldn't help but want to listen. Since he had already asked, there was nothing he could do. He had to let Chang Sunsheng give a brief talk and remind him not to go into too much detail. Chang Sunsheng was about to start talking when Zhao Wu interrupted him. He looked at him unhappily, but seeing the other party's lingering fear, Chang Sunsheng's expression changed instantly. What kind of person did they take him for? So scared. He didn't continue, but asked, "Captain Zhao, what are you afraid of?" Zhao Wu then talked about his previous private school. What he was most afraid of was the old teacher's long speech, saying that he would rather charge into battle than listen to those words that he couldn't understand. Chang Sunsheng was immediately at a loss for words. He didn't say much, but immediately crossed out the other party in his heart. Such a person is only suitable for charging into battle. Being a bodyguard is still no problem. Being a commander is already the top, and he can't be a general. No wonder the king asked him to help more on the way. It turned out that the king had long known that Zhao Wu was a person who could not be cultivated. But with his current status, he didn't have the position to educate the other party. Even if he did, the other party would only be annoyed with him, not grateful. Chang Sunsheng had met many people. For a person like Zhao Wu, any other way of preaching would have the opposite effect, except to make the other party admire him from the bottom of his heart. But on the other hand, as long as you don't preach to him, then this person is very easy to approach, generous, straightforward, and treat people with sincerity. Since Zhao Wu asked him to speak, but didn't want to listen to a long speech, Chang Sunsheng had to explain briefly. This agreement says that these territories are not allowed to occupy each other. If someone occupies it, other surrounding territories have the right to besiege this person. After hearing this, Zhao Wu realized that there was such a thing. He clasped his fists and thanked, "Thank you, sir." After speaking, he took out the map again, unfolded it, and looked at the location of the 4 small territories. Kevin's territory is in the southernmost part, like a concave place. There is a small territory in the northwest, which is where their caravan is going now. Then in the northeast direction of this territory, which is still directly north of Kevin's territory, there is another territory, and in the east-south direction of this territory, which is also northeast of Kevin's territory, there is also a small territory. These 4 territories are like the 4 corners of an irregular rhombus, which is the territory that Chang Sunsheng visited last time. Zhao Wu looked to the north and saw 3 more territories, but there was no detailed location, only a rough direction. The Boenting territory in the northwest, the Shangdao territory in the north, and the Yuzheng territory in the northeast. Beyond that, it was a blank. Chapter 114, High Profile. After Zhao Wu finished reading the map, he folded it and put it in a waterproof bag. He picked up the monocular telescope, looked at the terrain in front of him, looked up at the sky, and said, "Mr. Changsun, it's getting late. Let's set up camp when we get to the foot of the mountain." Chang Sunsheng looked at the distance and the time. Zhao Wu was quite capable in marching and fighting, so he nodded and agreed with Zhao Wu's decision. When they arrived at the place to set up camp, there was a stream flowing down from the mountain. The caravan now had 60 carriages, 40 of which were empty, with 230 people. The 80 new people were the drivers of the 40 carriages. When they arrived at the place, they cleared out a piece of open space and surrounded the carriages. The open space in the middle was the camp, and people could sleep on the empty carriages. At noon the next day, the caravan arrived at the second territory. In order to prevent the situation from happening last time, Chang Sun Sheng set up a stall outside the city, and the guards were ready to escort them. He wanted to pay the money and deliver the goods at the same time, and never give the other party a chance to blackmail him again. After setting up the stall, he asked several intelligence officers to ride horses and carry gongs to the city to make propaganda, so that the people of this territory would know that there was a caravan outside the city. Seeing these people sneak into the city under the protection of the trade treaty, and then quickly ride on war horses, while running, while beating the gong, and shouting in the local language, "There is a big caravan with everything outside the East City." Then these intelligence officers who beat the gong ran around in the city, startling the whole city, and there were angry curses in the streets. Finally, before the guards guarding the gate could react, these intelligence officers rushed out of the city gate on war horses, perfectly executing Chang Sun Sheng's plan. Chang Sun Sheng looked at several fast horses rushing out of the city gate, and then slowly closed the city gate, and nodded with satisfaction. Since you want to be high profile, then you have to be high profile in a proper way. After waiting for a while, the lord of this city appeared on the city wall. He was a middle-aged man. He looked at the caravan outside the city. It seemed that the other party had already known the situation here, and shouted loudly to this side, "Your Excellency the envoy, why do you do this?" Chang Sun Sheng stepped forward and said, "This city is too small. There is no suitable place to set up a stall inside, but we have to let the civilians in the city know that we are here. We have no choice but to disturb you." The excuse of there being no suitable place to set up a stall in the city was a bit hurtful to people's self-esteem, but Chang Sun Sheng had decided to act in a high-profile manner, so he didn't care about these things. After hearing Chang Sun Sheng's excuse, the middle-aged city lord's already ugly face became even uglier, but he thought more than Kevin. The other party was disdaining that his city was small and there was such a large caravan, and he was acting in a high-profile manner, looking like he was not afraid of anything, which really scared him a little. Since there was nothing serious and the other party did not enter the city, he felt that there was no need to provoke the other party. He originally wanted to keep the city gates closed, but when he thought of the trade treaty signed last time, he hesitated a little. Finally, seeing the caravan far away from the city gate and setting up stalls, he ordered the city gate to be opened, but also issued another order, which was to increase the guards here, but did not prohibit civilians from leaving the city. He was unwilling to give the other party a chance. He was afraid that the caravan outside was a bait. After he prohibited the other party from doing business, the other party's territory behind would attack him. Although there was a convention that he could not occupy his territory or hurt him, it did not say that he could not rob him. If the other party robbed all his wealth, it would be better to kill him. This territory is very similar to Kevin's territory. It is close to the mountains in the south, and is also a remote place. There are not many people in the territory. If you try your best to get together, you can get 2,000 or 3,000 soldiers. But those are untrained civilians. What's the use of them on the battlefield? This middle-aged lord saw this much more clearly than Kevin. So, he decided that it was better to have less trouble than more, and just pretend that he didn't see these people. But that night, he didn't think so. "My lord, the strange caravan outside the city sells goods that are really priceless and unpredictable," an old man with a hunchback reported to the middle-aged lord. The middle-aged lord asked curiously, "Really? Steward, tell me, what are they selling? So valuable?" "My lord, these goods include smooth silk, white salt, colorful and strong cloth, exquisite porcelain, and..." The old steward carefully described all the goods he saw when he went out of the city this afternoon. After talking about the goods, the old steward sighed. "These things are all good things that I have never seen before, but they are too expensive." The middle-aged lord asked again, "Since they are good things, they are definitely good. What's so strange about them?" The old steward replied, "My lord, a piece of silk that is 1 meter long and 1 meter wide, they actually want 10 gold coins." He even roughly compared how long 1 meter is. When it comes to gold coins, his hands are shaking. He has lived for decades, and he has never seen 10 gold coins put together. But the silk he saw today was a small pile. If this price is true, he doesn't know how to describe the value of these goods. In the eyes of the old butler, this pile is not silk, it is a mountain of gold. After hearing the description of the old butler, the middle-aged lord was also shocked and stood up, walking back and forth in front of his throne, thinking, no wonder the other party is so confident and fearless. It turns out that he has strong capital. But this caravan came to his territory for the first time, and he didn't know what to do next. He had never encountered such a situation before. When the middle-aged lord was racking his brains, the attendant outside reported that Lord Kevin sent someone to find him. The middle-aged lord was puzzled. Kevin, what's the matter with him? But thinking of the caravan outside the city, could it be related to this caravan? So the middle-aged lord received the envoy sent by Kevin. After the secret meeting, the middle-aged lord was very happy to issue the same order as Kevin, which was to recruit soldiers. On the other side, Chang Sun Sheng saw the city gate early in the morning. Although it was not closed, the city guards prohibited civilians from leaving the city. Chang Sun Sheng then sent someone to negotiate. Soon, the intelligence personnel who negotiated came back and reported, "Sir, the guards said that our goods are too precious, and they dare not let those civilians leave the city. They are afraid that we will be robbed by these civilians and they can't afford to pay." After hearing this reason, Chang Sun Sheng looked at Zhao Wu, and then at the guards of this brigade. With so many guards, would they be afraid of being robbed? This is just an excuse. So he said to Zhao Wu, "Captain Zhao, it seems that this business can't be done. Let's go to the next place." Chapter 115, Turning North. At this time, Chang Sun Sheng also had a bad premonition, but he could only make further judgments based on the situation. After reaching the next territory, the caravan immediately packed up the goods, got ready, and left the territory a few hours before noon. 2 days later, they arrived at this small territory just north of Kevin's territory. Chang Sun Sheng did not let the caravan show up immediately, but sent people to find out the news first. Soon, the personnel who went out to investigate came back and reported, "Captain, the small town ahead has been under martial law, and I have seen many soldiers entering and leaving the city." After listening to the report of the spy, Zhao Wu turned to look at Chang Sun Sheng and asked, "Mr. Chang Sun, are we going there now?" Chang Sun Sheng also heard the report of the spy and had been thinking about it. When he heard Zhao Wu's question, he replied with a very ugly face, "Captain Zhao, no, we will go to the north." He added, "It is best to do it now, the faster the better. In addition, send a pigeon back to tell the king about our itinerary. The carrier pigeons that Zaya State now has can only be transmitted from outside to Cheyenne Key City and cannot be transmitted from Cheyenne Key City to other places, because the carrier pigeons use the pigeon's instinct to return to the nest. That is, a group of pigeons are raised in one place, these pigeons are taken to other places, and then when they need to send a message, they are released. Therefore, if you want to use carrier pigeons to send a message to a certain place, you have to raise pigeons in this place. If many places raise homing pigeons, even if they can rely on homing pigeons to send messages, people still need to take these homing pigeons from different places to other places first. In the current Zaya Kingdom, except for Cheyenne Key City, other towns have just begun to raise homing pigeons, and it is estimated that a homing pigeon communication network will soon be formed. Zhao Wu didn't know what was going on, but he knew that listening to Chang Sun Sheng was right, so he immediately ordered, "Turn north. Release the homing pigeons." After the caravan made a circle and bypassed this small town, Zhao Wu took the time to ask Chang Sun Sheng, "Mr. Chang Sun, even if this small town is under martial law, isn't there still the territory in the east? We won't go there." After seeing that they bypassed the small town safely, Chang Sun Sheng smiled and stroked his beard on his chin, and replied, "Captain Zhao, the enemy is probably waiting for us ahead." "Enemy? What enemy? Where did the enemy come from?" Zhao Wu was very confused. Outside this pass, there were no enemies in Zaya Kingdom, only one unfriendly territory. Could it be this territory? Chang Sun Sheng replied, "Of course the enemies are these territories. We just need to keep going east, and we will encounter an ambush by the enemy next." Chang Sun Sheng's answer surprised Zhao Wu. If it was Kevin territory that was against them, he could understand. But how could the other 3 territories become enemies? Sir, aren't there conflicts between these territories? How can they unite? Zhao Wu didn't have much knowledge about politics, so Chang Sheng was not surprised when he asked this question. He first asked back, can't we unite if there are conflicts? Then he explained, as long as there are interests between the territories, it is very simple to unite. Now our caravan is the greatest interest in the eyes of these small territories. Chang Sheng recalled his experience in the past few days, the change in the attitude of the middle-aged lord, and the territory just now. Their caravan had not arrived yet, but the other side had already prepared the army. It should be from the moment when the soldiers of the regular camp lined up under Kevin's city, that the other side had the idea of uniting, otherwise, the other territories would not have reacted so quickly. Their caravan had just arrived at a place, and the other party's attitude changed the next day. Kevin sent someone to contact them just after they left. At that time, Chang Sheng felt that something was wrong. In order to be on the safe side, he decided to send someone to investigate before arriving at the small town just now. The worst situation he was worried about really happened. Zhao Wu was shocked. These people were interested in the goods of the caravan, but he had another question and asked, in this case, why don't we return to the interior of the country? In Zhao Wu's opinion, since the other party had united to deal with them, it would be very dangerous to hang around in this dangerous place. Zhao Wu thought that they should return to the interior of the country as soon as possible. Chang Sheng laughed and replied, since the 4 territories of the other party have united, there must be pursuers behind them. If we return, won't we fall into a trap? Zhao Wu thought about it and was right. There were not many people in their caravan. As long as the soldiers of a territory were fully mobilized and caught by surprise, they would still be wiped out. After thinking this through, Zhao Wu agreed to turn to the north. He praised, sir, you are really good at planning and foresight. Chang Sheng laughed and did not respond to Zhao Wu's praise, which was considered to be accepting this statement. In fact, there was another reason why he asked the caravan to go to the north, which he did not tell Zhao Wu. That is, he still wanted to complete the task assigned to him by the monarch. Now that only 20,000 kilograms of grain have been traded, how can he be satisfied? At least these empty carriages behind him should be filled up. Chang Sheng still has his own pride. As for why he is sure that there will be no territories that are united in the further north, that is because, according to his inference, before these small territories discovered that there was a Xia kingdom in the south, they should have been a loose alliance. The fighting between this loose alliance has been maximized, and the threat they have to deal with by joining forces should be the 3 barren lords in the further north. Therefore, Chang Sheng is sure that, as long as they reach the further north, they will be safe. As for whether these 3 lords will also be jealous of their goods, that depends on Chang Sheng's means. Anyway, it is dangerous to retreat now, so it is better to go to these unreached territories and give it a try. Even if the task of purchasing grain is not completed, more intelligence can be collected. There are ambushes behind and there is life ahead. Moving forward is the best choice for the caravan now. On the other side, Yang Song knew about the changes in the itinerary of the caravan at the first time, but he didn't know what was going on. He just saw from the small map that several territories that were originally in the white neutral camp have now become red hostile camps. This surprised him very much. Could it be that these small territories are not paying attention to the caravan? A few days ago, Yang Song saw the regular camp being dispatched, and also saw that the shocked small territory turned brown and unfriendly. This is normal, after all, the army has arrived at other people's doorsteps. I didn't expect that after only a few days, these territories changed too quickly. They all turned red in an instant. Even the other 3 friendly territories turned red. Yang Song didn't know what happened to have such a big change, but he knew that the north would not be too peaceful in the future. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Zhao Guo's Obligations. Yang Zong found Yang Song in the study and reported with a bow, "Your Majesty, the food brought back by the caravan has arrived." "Well, it's good that it's arrived. Is there anything else?" Yang Song sat behind the desk and asked without raising his head. He was now comparing the small map and drawing a new map, which was all of the enemy forces. Since they were already hostile, they should be prepared in advance, so Yang Song sent someone to notify Li King and asked him to send someone to explore the topography of these territories. Yang Zong continued to reply, "Your Majesty, yes, there is a problem with these grains. They are all black beans that have never been seen before." Oh. After hearing that it was food that had never been seen before, Yang Song raised his head and asked in confusion, "Are these black beans inedible?" If so, then he would have plans to send troops to attack the city. Anyway, the other side now regards Zaire as a hostile country. Yang Zong replied, "That's not the case. It's just that these beans are very unpalatable. Even if they are ground into bean powder, they are all black. Not only are they ugly, but they are also very rough." Fortunately, Yang Zong's answer temporarily gave up the idea of sending troops. It's just that these unpalatable black beans can be eaten. If the people of Zaire Kingdom don't eat them, there are still those southern barbarians who dig mines. It won't work. Thinking of this, Yang Song asked Yang Zong, "Have you tried to recruit people from the refugee camps with these black beans?" "My lord, I have tried it, but it doesn't work. The refugee camps can only use these familiar grains produced by the country. According to my guess, it should be related to the eating habits of the people of the country." Yang Zong's answer did not disappoint Yang Song too much. He had thought of it himself, but he still wanted to try it, but the result really had no loopholes. Think about it, if the standard of edible is used as the definition of grain, then there are too many things to recruit people. Even if those pastures, weeds, and tree barks are edible, doesn't it mean that these things can also recruit people? The result is definitely not okay. Only the food recognized by the people of Zaire can be used as an exchange for conscription. In this way, the conditions for conscription are a bit restrictive. Conscripting the people will consume the country's food reserves very much, so Yang Song cannot rely entirely on the system's refugee camps, and there must be another method. But now there are only a few ways to increase the population of Zaire. One is natural reproduction, the second is plundering the outside population, and the third is to use food to conscript refugees. The third method is to consume a certain amount of food in a short period of time and quickly expand the population. The advantage is obvious, that is, the speed of expanding the population is fast. As long as there is enough food, it is no problem to expand hundreds of thousands a day, but the disadvantage is also obvious, that is, the consumption is too large. With the current Zaire country, it dare not release the conscription. Moreover, if too many refugees are conscripted at a time, Zaire will also have indigestion, and any chaos may happen. The second method has been tried by Zaire, that is, those southern barbarians who are mining. The advantage is still fast, and can quickly increase the labor force. Even if they die from overwork, they will not feel bad. There are many disadvantages. There are casualties and consumption when going out to fight. Even slaves need to eat and consume food. This method also has the most important disadvantage, that is, when the foreign population exceeds the main population, it is easy to be assimilated. The first method is slow, time-consuming, stable, and controllable. There is not much consumption in a short period of time, but in the long run, from the baby born to adulthood, this consumption is not small at all. But this method has the biggest advantage, that is, these people who grew up have the strongest recognition and sense of identity with the Zaire Kingdom, and under the compulsory education of the Zaire Kingdom, the success rate is very high. The success rate alone is worth Yang Song's investment. Therefore, he ordered, encourage fertility across the country. Couples of Zaire people must give birth to 1, except infertility, give birth to 2 and reward a pig, give birth to 3 and reward a house, give birth to 4 and reward 10 acres of land, give birth to 5 and reward a contribution medal, give birth to 6 and reward as exemption from 10 years of taxation, give birth. Anyway, the more you give birth, the more rewards you will get. As for why the first child is mandatory, it is because it is an obligation. As the obligation of the people of Zaire country, so there is no reward. In the propaganda of Yang Li of the Propaganda Bureau, the people of Xia country, whether they are officials or common people, whether they are monarchs or farmers, as long as they are Xia people, in this new world, for the whole nation, in order to survive, it is necessary to increase the population. Therefore, there is this monarch order, and the term of this monarch order is 10 years. It is not that the term of encouraging childbirth is only 10 years, but the content of the reward will not be applicable after a certain period of time, and it should be modified. Moreover, after 10 years, whether this monarch order is useful or not, it will be known at that time. If it is useless or not very useful, a term can also be more flexible. In general, in order to increase the competitiveness of the ethnic group, the number of people is necessary. For the sake of civilization and ethnic groups, Yang Song will do everything he can. Even if this place is full after hundreds of years, then rob the living space of the indigenous people, at the cost of war. Even if there are no indigenous people on this planet after thousands of years, and they are all Xia people, then enter the universe. He still doesn't believe it. With the current education system, he can't travel in the sea of stars after thousands of years. If he really can't, then this ethnic group is exterminated by himself. Then he can only blame himself for not living up to his expectations. Yang Song doesn't want this country to not even have a person who can speak Chinese in a few dozen or hundreds of years. If this happens, he might as well not come to this world. This is a struggle for survival, and also a competition of intelligence and courage. This is also the only motivation Yang Song has after coming to this world. If Yang Song didn't have the heart to move forward, then he could now be a monarch of a small country in the south of Cheyenne Pass, and he would have the system to help him, and no one could restrict him. Fortunately, he still has a long-term vision and a little ambition, and doesn't just see the little territory in front of him. Fortunately, Yang Song instructed, since they can't be used for conscription, send them to Long Island and feed them to the southern barbarians. Yang Song bowed his hands and accepted the order. Yes, I will do it now. Wait. Yang Song stopped Yang Song, who was about to leave, and asked, is the output of, or produced in Long Island enough? Yang Song didn't think too much, just calculated it in his mind and replied. Reply to the king, it should be enough. Oh, really? That's fine. Remember to maintain the output of ore. It can only be more, not less. After that, he waved his hand and asked Yang Song to retreat if he was fine. Yang Song thought of so many foreigners in the country. He was always a little worried, always felt that these natives would do something. So he asked Yang Song to increase the output of minerals and not let these natives be too idle. These captured natives are all young and strong women. Working together has a very troublesome thing, that is, the fertility problem of the natives. Originally, they were prepared to only have young and strong people, but there were not enough people, and in order to maximize the use of the natives, they had to bring these strong women as well. So mixing them together would easily lead to something welcome to see and hear. Therefore, the island was divided into 2 concentration camps for men and women, living and working separately. And once a pregnancy occurred, I'm sorry, Xia country doesn't support the natives without labor force, so they have to be used to feed the fish. Losing 1 or 2 natives is not a big deal, and it won't delay anything, but once this trend is indulged, the consequences will be disastrous. Xia country wants labor, not to help these natives to immigrate overseas. Chapter 117 New Territory. After the issuance of the decree to encourage childbirth, it can be expected that a large number of newborn babies will be born in the future, and these babies will also occupy a part of the existing labor force. To support and develop the country's military and civilians, a lot of resources are needed, and resources need labor to develop. Therefore, Yang Song decided to use local natives. As long as he persisted in the initial investment stage, the output would show explosive growth in the future. But the most needed initial investment is food, so there was a caravan formed by Zhao Wu and Chang Sunsheng. Yang Song also thought about launching a war and plundering. However, due to insufficient external intelligence, the investment in the war was greater and the consumption was also large. If it ended up being more than it cost, it would not be worth it. Or that war is only for politics, and a war without interests is meaningless. No war, then use a soft knife. Use commodities to plunder. But now, Yang Song looked at the red patch on the map. Is this forcing him to start a war? In the north, the caravan went straight to the north according to the instructions of the compass. Along the way, the caravan had been heading north for 5 days, passing through several small villages along the simple road without having to avoid the main road. Mr. Changsun, the civilians in this place, seemed to have a much better life. The caravan had just passed a small village. Instead of selling the goods brought from their own country, they only sold some of the odds and ends purchased in Kevin's territory. Changsun Sheng heard Zhao Wu's question, frowned, stroked his beard, and replied, "The owner of this place is quite capable, and can make ordinary villagers smile." He recalled that the caravan was selling in that small village just now. The caravan came to the outside of the small village, stopped, and shouted, "Selling goods, selling goods." The villagers in the village also saw the arrival of the caravan. Seeing so many people, still holding weapons, they thought they had encountered robbers at first, but when they heard the shouting, they realized that it was a caravan. The villagers saw that these people did not enter the village, but took out some things, and started to set up stalls, and finally confirmed that it was really a caravan. Soon, the villagers gathered around, and saw that the items on the stalls were all daily necessities such as wooden cups and bowls, as well as some puppet toys. The most valuable item was the refined white salt. When the villagers asked about the price, except for the refined salt, everything else was very cheap. The most important thing is that, if there are not so many coins, they can also use grain to sell at a low price. This made the villagers very tempted. In the past, they had to transport the grain they had grown with great effort to the city, and they could only sell it for a little money. Now the people of this big caravan set their grain price at 3 copper coins per catty, which was 1 copper coin higher than the price they sold to the grain dealers in the city. The villagers agreed one after another, and in the end, they all used grain at a low price. No one bought it directly with coins. They still knew how to calculate this simple account. This is why Changsun Sheng was willing to purchase grain at a fair price. The ultimate goal of their caravan was still grain. For these useless goods, in order to sell them as soon as possible, the caravan sold some of them at half price and half price. But because the total amount was still so much, and the villagers' purchasing power was very limited, not much was sold in the end. Zhao Wu looked at the city in front of him, which was completely different from the small cities he had seen before. Even the Apocalypse City, in terms of size, could not be compared with the city in front of him. This city can already be considered a city, and it has exceeded the scale of a city. "Mr. Changsun, this place is really prosperous," Zhao Wu exclaimed. Just as he was exclaiming, a small caravan came in front of him. This small caravan had 2 simple open-top 2-wheeled carriages, which were full of goods tied up by ropes. It seemed that they were going out of the city to do business. When passing by Zhao Wu and his team, the people in this small caravan were all a little alert and a little curious. They rarely saw such a large caravan. It's not that there are many guards, but it's rare to see so many large carriages. 4-wheeled carriages are not uncommon, but a large 4-wheeled carriage team of 60 vehicles at a time is really rare. Zhao Wu ignored the curious caravan and looked at the city in front of him. He asked Changsun Sheng, "Is this the main city of Shangdao territory?" Changsun Sheng looked at the environment in front of him. In front of the mountains, there was a city. Looking left and right, there were endless mountains. He replied, "It should be. The environment here is right." Changsun Sheng also opened the map and looked at the location. Coming out of the Xianqian Pass, it is Kevin territory in the mountains. Further north, there is a plain of medium size. Further north, which is what they are seeing now, there is another group of mountains. It seems that there is a basin outside the Xianqian Pass, and it is a basin close to the sea. If Changsun Sheng did not continue to think about it, but said to Zhao Wu, "Let's go into the city." This time, the caravan entered the city smoothly. After paying a tax for entering the city, they asked passers-by about the situation of the city, and found out why the city is so prosperous. It turned out that Changsun Sheng's speculation was correct. There was a basin between the outside of the pass and these mountains, and there were a total of 7 territories of different sizes. And why is this territory so prosperous? Of course, there is a passage connecting to the north. If the 7 territories want to go to the main civilization in the center of the continent, they must pass through here. Inevitably, this place is also famous for its commercial services. It's not that there are no other ways to go out, but other roads are very rugged. It's okay if there are few people. For example, if Zhao Wu's caravan wants to go to the north, it must go through here. After knowing the reason, Chang Sun Sheng sighed. I didn't expect this is really a remote place. He sighed for nothing else, but lamented the weakness of Zaya state. With less than 100,000 soldiers and civilians, they don't even have much influence on this small basin, let alone the main civilization outside. After sighing, Chang Sun Sheng suggested to Zhao Wu, let's find an inn to settle down first, and then sell the goods. Zhao Wu also thought that this was the first thing to do, so he agreed. Okay, no problem, it's time to rest up. We have been traveling in the wild for more than half a month. The name of this business road leader probably comes from the role of this place, so there are many shops such as hotels and taverns. But because their caravan is too large, there are still few hotels that can accommodate them. There is no way the caravan has to book a medium-sized hotel, which is more convenient. In the hotel lobby, Chang Sun Sheng suggested to Zhao Wu again, Captain Zhao, rest up for a day today, and go to the stall area tomorrow. Remember to go early, otherwise there will be no good stalls. This intelligence was said by the inn owner. As soon as the boss saw this caravan, he knew that they were here to do business. Seeing the generosity of the caravan, he also attached a few pieces of information that were stale on the street. Zhao Wu thought about it and agreed. Mr. Chang Sun is right, let's do it. Zhao Wu found that, although he was still giving orders to the caravan, Chang Sun Sheng was basically the boss. But there was nothing he could do, because he was not as smart as him, and he also knew that the caravan was still led by him. He was only responsible for protecting the caravan's safety and supervising it for the king. Chapter 118. The transaction went smoothly. At dawn the next day, the caravan members woke up under Zhao Wu's loud voice. They quickly organized the caravan, prepared the goods to be sold today, and decided on the stall owners. The others had to look after the carriages and goods left behind in the inn. Hurry up, it's already dawn. With Zhao Wu's urging, 3 carriages loaded with goods drove towards the stall area of the city. Chang Sun Sheng learned his lesson, and would no longer sell those sensitive goods this time. Even refined salt would only be sold in small quantities as the finale. Therefore, in addition to the small items collected in Kevin's territory, there were only 3 items on the stall today: floral cloth, pottery, and wine. When the 3 carriages arrived at the stall area in the city, there were already many stalls here. This was because they lived relatively close to here. Otherwise, by the time they arrived, it was estimated that others would have closed their stalls. Soon, 3 stalls were set up, all next to each other, with floral fabrics, pottery, and wine laid out in order, stacked neatly, and a small jar of wine was opened, so that the aroma of the wine could drift with the wind and attract customers. Soon, many customers stopped in front of the stalls, looking at these exquisite goods, smelling the aroma of the wine, and began to bargain. This floral fabric is so beautiful, the quality is good, and it feels not rough. 1 meter is 100 copper coins, which is very cheap. The Zaya merchant sold it in the poor local language. Opposite the merchant was a middle-aged woman. After hearing what the Zaya merchant said, she shook her head and bargained. 100 copper coins are enough for me to live for a month, but I can only buy such a little floral cloth from you. 50 copper coins, no more. I won't buy it. Upon hearing this, the Zaya merchant hurriedly said, 50 copper coins are too little. We worked so hard to transport it, and this is not enough to cover the cost. At most, you buy 1 meter of floral cloth, and I will give you a wooden bowl as a gift. What do you think? The woman still shook her head and said, it's still too expensive. If you buy such expensive floral cloth, you will only get a wooden bowl as a gift. It would be about right to add some other things. In fact, the middle-aged woman was already tempted. She had just lowered the price so hard just to get a bargain. This was the first time she had seen a product of such good quality, and she would not miss this opportunity. When the Zaya country merchant heard what the woman said, he knew that the deal was about to be done, and said, is that so? Then I'll give you a wooden cup as a gift. If this doesn't work, then I'll have to give up the sale. After hearing this, the woman thought that the other party had reached his limit, so she said, okay, you're so stingy. Give me 2 meters of floral cloth. Remember, you have to give me 2 wooden bowls and 2 wooden cups. When the Zaya country merchant heard that the other party had placed an order, he said with a smile, "Okay, I'll pack it for you right away. Is it this red floral cloth?" Seeing the woman nodded, the Zaya country merchant took out a half-meter long ruler, measured it 4 times, and let the woman take a look. After the other party confirmed it again, he folded it in half vertically, drew a line with the ruler, and then cut along the line with scissors, folded it a few times, and handed it to the woman. "Okay, here, your cloth." After the merchant handed it to the other party, he took 2 wooden bowls and wooden cups from the carriage beside him, and handed them to the other party, saying, "This is a wooden bowl and wooden cup for you." The middle-aged woman touched the red floral cloth in her arms with satisfaction, took out a purse, took out 2 pieces of parchment from it, and handed it to him. The Zaya merchant took it, and saw that it was 2 100 copper securities. After the Zaya merchant confirmed it, he said, "I'll take 200 copper coins from you. Welcome to come again next time." This parchment security was also discovered after arriving in this city. It seems to be issued by a large cross-regional merchant group. With this security, you can find the store of this merchant group to exchange for copper coins, and there is no handling fee. In addition to no handling fee, the most important thing is that the anti-counterfeiting is done very well. If someone forges and is discovered by the merchant group, they will all be sanctioned. It is precisely because of this convenience and guarantee that this kind of security quickly circulated. Although it is not popular throughout the continent, it is still very influential in this southern region. How you guys are really good at doing business. I've never seen you guys before. Where are you from? The middle-aged woman saw that the transaction was completed, and then she saw that the Zaya people looked a little different from them, so she was very curious and gossiped. The Zaya merchant laughed and said, "It's okay, it's okay. We are just borrowing your land to make a living. We are all from the south. It's normal that we haven't seen you before." After doing business in this prosperous city for most of the day, the caravan still obtained a lot of information. For example, there are not only one kind of people in this world. There are northern ice people with white skin, big noses, and more body hair. There are also brown sand people living in the western desert. But the most are the kind of people in front of us who are similar to the yellow race. Therefore, the people in this city have seen a lot of people, and when entering the city, the guards did not question these merchants who looked obviously different. When the middle-aged woman heard that the Zaya merchant came from the south, she became even more curious and asked, "Aren't there only 3 small territories in the south? How could there be other people?" The Zaya merchant heard this question, thought about it, and the answer was not confidential, so he replied, "We are from the south of the big mountain range." The middle-aged woman widened her eyes and said, "Wow, you came from the other side of the mountain. No wonder. I was wondering why I had never seen people like you before." The two exchanged a few more polite words. Seeing that there was more business, the Zaya merchant apologized and stopped caring about the middle-aged woman, but continued to do business. Chang Sun Sheng was collecting various information in a low-key manner. He also heard the conversation between the Zaya merchant and the middle-aged woman, and summarized it in his heart. From the looks of it, from the tone of her voice, this middle-aged woman is not just an ordinary civilian. She is at least a middle-class person in this city. Think about it, if she is not a family with a small amount of assets, she will not come to buy these luxury goods that are quite high-end compared to ordinary people. Fortunately, I came to this city. The wealth of this place is a bit incredible. Chang Sun Sheng thought that this place was only slightly better than Kevin's territory at most. But after a day of trading, Chang Sun Sheng admitted that he underestimated the people in this world. What he didn't expect the most was that this place actually gave birth to securities similar to paper money. Unlike the credit currency of Zaya country, this so-called security is guaranteed by the wealth and reputation of a merchant group. The main civilization of this world uses gold and copper coins as common currency, and the exchange rate is as high as 1 to 10,000. There is no intermediate currency as a transfer, only these 2 currencies. In this situation, where each territory is independent, not under the jurisdiction of others, and there is no unified regime, there is actually a monetary system that unifies the entire continent. This is quite interesting. Chapter 119. Encirclement failed. This is also a very distinctive feature that Zhang Sunsheng discovered after sorting out all the information in recent times. Especially the information collected today is more than that collected in the past few months. As for why there is such a profound currency system in this world, Zhang Sunsheng doesn't know. Before drawing a conclusion, it is necessary to have enough information as a prerequisite. Without enough information, even the smartest people can't draw any useful conclusions. Zhang Sunsheng looked at the account book handed to him by the merchant, thinking that today's transaction was very smooth, and it seemed that there was no need to take out those real high-end luxury goods for sale. After he figured this out, he instructed the merchant, do it like today in the future. Keep precious items such as silk and porcelain, and only sell these ordinary goods. Yes, I obey your command. After receiving the order, the merchant left Zhang Sunsheng's room. Zhao Wu also came to Chang Sunsheng's room. After greeting each other, he asked, Mr. Changsun, when will we return to the interior? Chang Sunsheng looked at the amount of goods sold today, estimated it, and frowned and replied, Captain Zhao, at today's speed, it will take at least half a month. This half month is not enough time to buy food. Buying too much food at one time will also cause problems, so we have to take it slowly. Chang Sunsheng explained to Zhao Wu, and Zhao Wu sighed and said, Mr. Changsun is right. We can only take it slowly in our current situation. After Kevin ordered his first night to recruit soldiers and contact foreign aid, he had been waiting for news from the front. But after waiting for a long time, he still didn't get any news of success, and his expectation turned into anxiety. Tell me, where did this caravan go? Did it escape back? Kevin asked the second knight. The second knight thought for a moment and replied, My lord, I have already set up a checkpoint on the southern passage, and have not found any caravans heading south. Kevin sat on his throne, holding his forehead with one hand, and holding a glass with half a glass of wine in the other. He squinted at the glass in his hand, took a sip of the sweet wine, and became even more anxious. He asked, They didn't go back. Did any other territory take it for themselves? He said this because he was the one who revealed the value of the caravan's goods. During the communication, the 4 small territories sent troops to intercept them together. After success, the treasures of the caravan will be divided equally among the 4 territories. The second knight replied, No, all the armies have our people. If any lord wants to take it for himself, it is impossible to bypass our people. The second knight's answer was that their coalition this time, like in the past, sent their own people to the other side's army. Sending people to each other is also for mutual trust. The difference is that in the past, they united to resist the plunder of the 3 larger territories in the north, and mainly to resist the Bohunter in the west. Every time there was a natural disaster or man-made disaster in the territory of the Bohunter, they would send troops to other neighboring territories to plunder. Bohunter is located at the junction of the 2 mountain ranges in the north and south. Most of the people in the territory are mainly engaged in hunting, supplemented by planting, so their combat effectiveness is very strong. Even the Shangdao territory in the north, such a rich territory, has been robbed, not to mention these small territories. I don't know which generation of their ancestors, the 4 weak territories united. Although it is a loose alliance, it is enough to resist the plunder of the surrounding areas. If their 4 territories did not unite, they would have fallen long ago. You know, in addition to the Bohunter territory with strong combat effectiveness in the northwest, there is also the wealthy Shangdao territory in the north, and the Yujin territory in the northeast. None of these 3 territories is a good person. Not to mention the powerful combat effectiveness of the Bohunter territory, the wealthy Shangdao territory in the north occupies an important channel connecting the main civilization, and has plundered a lot of oil and water with its unique location. With money, even if there are not many troops in the territory, this territory can hire mercenaries to help. Finally, there is Yuzheng territory in the northeast. Just by listening to the name, you know that this territory makes a living by fishing and farming. But in addition, the sailors of this territory are very powerful. There are several rivers in the territory, which is a natural barrier. Then they will come out to fight when they have nothing to do. In such an environment, if the 4 small territories do not unite, then the only fate left is to be deprived forever. With such a union, they all know what the situation of the four territories is, so the second knight refuted so decisively. Kevin also knew that his guess was not true, but he was anxious. It has been more than 10 days, why hasn't it been found yet? The four territories added together are not that big, why can't they be seen? After the second knight finished replying, he felt that he had spoken too bluntly and had hurt the lord's face a bit, so he quickly diverted the other party's attention and said, "My lord, I have a guess. I don't know if it is correct." Sure enough, after listening to the second knight's words, Kevin frowned a little dissatisfied. When he was about to scold him, he heard that the other party might know the information of the caravan. Under the temptation of the caravan's treasures, this little matter was thrown out of his mind. He sat up straight, put down his wine glass, leaned forward, and asked expectantly, "Do you know where the caravan is?" Seeing that he had escaped a disaster, the second knight secretly breathed a sigh of relief and replied, "My lord, I don't know where the caravan is, I just have a guess." Kevin didn't care whether the other party guessed or not, and asked hurriedly, "Stop talking nonsense, speak quickly." The second knight didn't keep it a secret anymore, and replied, "Yes, lord, I guess that this caravan should no longer be in our four territories. It should have gone to the business road." The second knight first stated the result, and then explained, "I didn't get the news that the caravan was heading south. Lord Lance in the west also saw the caravan, but after Lord Lance received the Lord's contact, because of a change in attitude, the caravan became alert in advance and left the Lance territory. Since then, no news of the caravan has been heard from again." Kevin nodded, agreed with the second knight's analysis, leaned back on his backrest, and said expectantly, "Go on." "Yes, lord." The second knight continued to analyze. "Since the caravan has noticed, they must stay away from dangerous places. So, except for the south, where they cannot return, they can only move north. In addition, the caravan is engaged in business, and the northern trade route is the best choice for the caravan." After listening to the second knight's analysis, Kevin completely agreed and said, "You are right, it should be like this. But, in this way, won't all my treasures fly away?" Alas. After saying that, Kevin slapped the armrest of the throne heavily, feeling very sad and disappointed. He didn't expect that there was a smart person in the caravan. The second knight looked at the appearance of his lord, and then thought about the goods of the caravan. That made him excited, and immediately reminded, "Lord, don't forget, even if the caravan sells those treasures, they will return to their territory one day." When Kevin heard this, his eyes lit up and he shouted, "Yes, why didn't I think of it? They will go back eventually, and I will wait for them here." Chapter 120 Mid-Year Summary. Zyre State, Chianki City, Month-End Meeting. It was the end of June, and the first season of rice had been harvested for a month. The food shortage in Zyre State had eased to a certain extent. "Your Majesty, the 6-month deadline has come, but the goal of adding 50,000 new people has not been achieved. I hope your Majesty will punish me." Yang Zong didn't say anything at the meeting, but walked to the aisle and bowed to plead guilty. The country was established in early March, and a plan of adding 50,000 new people in half a year was formulated at the end of March, but due to the war and the indigenous people, there was not enough food to achieve it. Yang Song frowned and asked, "Let's not talk about whether to punish or not. How many new people have been added in 3 months?" Yang Song bowed and bowed to plead guilty, waiting for Yang Song's decision. After hearing the king's question, he replied, "Your Majesty, I have recruited more than 10,000 people in March. There are only more than 20,000 people. Counting the original ones, the total population of Zyre State is less than 80,000. Even if there are 30,000 indigenous laborers consuming food, it will have to increase by 20,000 people." Yang Song sighed and said in his heart, "Hey, there are really no talents. Even if he has a system, he only has one person, and he can't do everything by himself." Yang Zong has the ability, but he is still very lacking in flexibility and timing. There is no problem with execution, but there is no decision-making ability. Yang Song thought about Yang Zong's past experience and thought, with the current ability, being a county level manager is the top. The current scale of Zyre State is the size of a county, but the population under its jurisdiction is only the number of a county. After a period of development, Yang Zhang's ability will not be able to catch up with the development speed of Xia state, and now there are already signs of this. Now Yang Song hopes that the system will reward him with a group of great talents immediately. He thought that, when he founded the country and called himself the king, the system should have a batch of rewards, but he guessed wrong. There was no reward for such a big event, which made him even more unsure of the rules of the system, although he had never figured it out. Thinking about this, Yang Song waved his hand at Yang Zhang and said, "Let's talk about the punishment later. Let's hold today's court meeting first. I obey your command." Yang Zhang bowed to Yang Song again and returned to his seat in a sullen manner. After returning to his seat, Yang Zhang opened the record book he brought with him and reported, "Your Majesty, half of the new town in the north has been built, and the rest will be completed within 2 months. He began to report the changes in Xia Kingdom in recent times. Xianqi City has 10,000 people, no change. The Navy town in the east has more than 5,000 people. The industrial town in the northwest has more than 10,000 people. The Gufeng town in the southeast has nearly 30,000 people. The Mashao town in the south has more than 10,000 people. The Linkai town in the west has more than 5,000 people." Yang Song hummed and signaled to continue. After reporting the population of each town, Yang Zhang continued to report. Navy town has a salt field and 30,000 mu of reclaimed land. Industrial town has a textile factory, iron smelting factory, paper mill, glass factory, ceramic factory, various mining sites, etc. driven by water power. Gufeng town has reclaimed more than 200,000 mu of land. Mashao town has various farms and pastures and has reclaimed 50,000 mu of land. Linkai town's main business is logging, and nearly 10,000 mu of forest has been cut down. Finally, Xianqi City has various workshops and buildings, and 50,000 mu of land has been reclaimed around it. Yang Zhang only reported the main information, and did not mention the detailed information of other industries, otherwise it would take a whole day and night to finish. The current Xia Kingdom can be said to be small but complete. Basically, it has everything it should have, but it still has the old problem of not being too many and too few people. Some industries, such as the gold and silver jewelry store, even have only one such store in the whole country. Next, other departments also made reports. Because this meeting was a mid-year summary, ZHUZ from the Education Bureau reported that the village level schools had been built, but there were no teachers. In some villages, there was only one teacher in a school. This teacher not only had to handle teaching affairs, but also had to teach students literature, mathematics, physical education and other courses. This is really a training position. Qian Liang from the Money Bureau reported the country's tax revenue and expenditure in the past 6 months. In general, the expenditure was still greater than the tax revenue, especially the war against the southern barbarians not long ago, which was extremely costly. The gap could only be subsidized by various mined resources. Fortunately, the country's finances still have the characteristics of semi-public ownership, that is to say, in other words, in general, no matter how to say it, it is using Yang Song's private property as a monarch to subsidize the government and fill the gap. This is really one person holding up half the sky. There is nothing much to say about other departments. They still report as usual, the drafting of laws and crime rates by the Law Bureau and the Metropolitan Inspection Bureau, the lack of staff in the Science and Technology Bureau, the daily work of the Propaganda Bureau and the Security Bureau. Then there are various detailed reports from the Administrative Office, Water Conservancy, Bridges, and Transportation Construction by the Post Bureau, statistics on new population, deaths, marriages, etc. by the Civil Bureau, Public Security by the Health Bureau, Business Development by the Business Bureau, Medical and Epidemic Prevention by the Medical Bureau. Finally, after these departments finished reporting in bits and pieces, more than half a day had passed. At the very end, Yang Song asked Li Zi, the director of the Military Industry Bureau who was responsible for the manufacture of military equipment, Li Zi, how is the manufacture and storage of weapons going? The situation in Xiago is a bit bad now. The 4 Red territories in the north remind him all the time that it is time to prepare for war. Moreover, the caravans led by Zhao Wu and Chang San Sheng were blocked in the far north. Even if they bought food, they had no way to transport it back. Therefore, the upcoming war is inevitable. Li Zi stood up and bowed and replied, "Your Majesty, we have more than 10,000 conventional weapons, 5,000 sets of various armors, 20,000 sets of battle robes, and 10 trial-produced cannons." When Yang Song heard that they actually had cannons, he was a little happy and asked, "Oh, they actually trial-produced 10 cannons, what were the results?" Li Zi replied, "Your Majesty, the 10 trial-produced cannons are all limitations of field cannons. Their power has reached the standard, but because of the materials, they are slightly heavier. The whole cannon weighs 700 kilograms. After so long, Xia Kingdom was finally able to manufacture its own artillery." Yang Song remembered that the infantry brigade's field artillery was only 600 kilograms, and this trial-produced artillery weighed more than 100 kilograms. But it didn't matter, as long as it could be used. If it was too heavy, it would not be easy to maneuver, and it could also be used to defend the city. Yang Song waved his hand, indicating that it was okay, and said, "It doesn't matter, as long as it can be used. Make another batch immediately, not too many. First gather a battalion of 27 artillery. This batch of artillery will be used to defend the city. The name is called City Defense Artillery." He also thought that the weight of the artillery must have an impact on the combat effectiveness of the army, so he instructed, "The weight of the artillery is still a problem. Continue to develop and try to reduce the weight." Li Zi took the order and said, "Yes, I obey your command." After speaking, he sat down. As for those conventional weapons, based on the output of the arsenal, this amount has also been accumulated over the past few years. Yang Song looked at the tired officials. He was tired after such a long meeting, but there was no way. Things had to be done as they should be. He took a deep breath and said with all his strength, "Everyone, the forces outside the northern pass seem to have coveted our country. I hope you will work hard with me in this difficult period." Yes. Chapter 121, War Begins Again. After the meeting, Yang Song kept Zhang Wei and talked to him alone. He ordered, "Zhang Wei, your guard camp, prepare to set off. The destination is Qian Pass." Zhang Wei's face straightened, and he said, "I obey your order." After waiting for Zhang Wei to go out, Yang Song said to Wang Wei, who was guarding beside him, "Wang Wei, ask the guards to prepare. I want to go to Qian Pass." After Zhao Wu led the caravan away, Wang Wei was the guard officer responsible for guarding the safety of the monarch. He also said, "Yes, your majesty." After Wang Wei received the order, he looked at Yang Song with a little doubt, thinking that this man had not left Qian City for a long time. Why was he going away this time? And he was going to such a dangerous place. That was the border. Even if there were heavy guards, as long as the war started, anything could happen. Wouldn't Yang Song go there to cause trouble? Yang Song was not going to cause trouble. He had something serious to do. After Yang Song came back from the court meeting, he has been restless because he did not complete the task assigned by the monarch. Although the monarch did not blame him, he knew his own business and his ability was really a bit behind. Therefore, he did not know if he could still cope with the next war, but the monarch still trusted him, so he made up his mind to complete the task given to him by the monarch this time. Notify all departments to hold a meeting in the evening. Yang Song asked his subordinates to notify the various departments of the administrative office that he had to arrange the tasks, and the preparations for the next step would not be easy at all. At the meeting in the evening, Yang Song arranged the work of each department. Except for the military bureau, other departments had to be responsible for their own work, strictly abide by their posts, and not slack off. Yang Zin of the military bureau also came from the original lord's mansion, but Yang Zong was originally a butler, and Yang Zin was just an ordinary member of the lord's mansion. The two of them have worked together for a long time, and are very familiar with each other. There is no need to be polite. Yang Zong said directly, "Yang Zin, your department will also have to work harder this time. Be prepared to mobilize the militia." Yang Zin also nodded seriously and said, "Don't worry, director, I know. The main task of the military bureau is to recruit soldiers, train new recruits, and mobilize and train militia. It is just a military department within the administrative system." At the beginning, Yang Song also thought about putting this department out separately, but there are only so many people in Dire State. If there is no good communication with the administrative department, training and mobilizing militia will be very problematic. For example, during the busy farming season, the military bureau insisted on conducting militia training. The positions of mobilizing militia were also arbitrary, which would cause chaos. So in order to avoid these troubles, Yang Song drew this military department into the administrative agency and let them coordinate by themselves, so as not to give himself a headache. Really lazy. At that time, he did not think about the separation of military and civilians and the division of power. His idea at the time was, anyway, I have a system that can check loyalty, so I'm not afraid of them. But now, Yang Song has very limited time to check the system information. He rarely looks at items that do not change much, such as loyalty, people's hearts, officials, and generals. There are also some contents that are too complicated. Even if he looks at them, he can't finish them, such as storage. The changes in materials are very ordinary and there are many types. Even if he looks at them, there is no point. On the contrary, the small map of the system is the one that Yang Song looks at the most, because he has to update the map frequently. He was thinking that maybe he would not look at it until the whole world was drawn by him. But he would still pay attention to the timely information on the small map. Just like the caravan led by Zhao Wu and Chang Sansheng, even if the other party did not report, he knew the general situation of the other party. After a few days, it was the first day of July. The supplies were ready, the guards were ready to escort, and most of the remaining soldiers in the guard camp were also ready. These three set off on the same day for Yang Song's companions. More people can better ensure the safety of the monarch. Yang Song rode on a warhorse and listened to the reports of each team, already. With Yang Song's departure, the joint team of the three headed towards the Qian Pass in the north. On the way, Yang Song passed by the central town under construction, but he did not disturb it. His guard officer Wang Wei reported to him that the less people knew about the whereabouts of the monarch, the better. Even in this team, only a few key personnel knew about Yang Song's existence, of course, except for the guards. After all, their duty was to protect Yang Song's safety. Wherever Yang Song went, they followed. A few days later, Yang Song successfully arrived at the Qian Pass. After meeting Deking and Lu Su, he officially revealed his identity. At this time, all the people in the Qian Pass knew that their monarch had also come to this dangerous place. Your Majesty, the general's platform is ready, Deking reported to Yang Song, who was occupying his throne. In addition to conveying the mission, Yang Song came this time to entertain the troops and boost morale. The 3,500 soldiers of the regular infantry brigade are his confidence in starting the war this time. The 81 field guns and 36 siege guns of the entire brigade, together reaching a powerful firepower of 117 guns, are his anger. He wants to let these local forces know the consequences of being enemies with him and the Xia Kingdom. Since they don't want to do good business and don't listen to good words, then he will tell them what is the truth within the range of the cannon. Under the guidance of Deking, Yang Song came to the general's platform beside the parade ground in the Qian Pass military camp. Deking was in the audience. After seeing Yang Song standing still, he immediately stepped forward, saluted and shouted loudly, "The last General Deking, I pay my respects to the king." With Deking's loud voice, all the soldiers present, whether from the infantry brigade, the guard battalion, or the guards, saluted together and shouted in unison, "Pay your respects to the king." Facing the salute of thousands of soldiers, Yang Song is no longer the naive lord he was before. Now he is the king of a country. Yang Song waved his cloak with his left hand, raised his right hand slightly, and replied loudly and solemnly, "No need to be polite." Then, "Thank you, my lord." All the soldiers stood up straight, waiting for the instructions of their lord. Yang Song retracted his right hand, put his left hand behind his back, and said, "Soldiers, the time when I need you has come, and the time when Xia needs you has come." He made a sword with his right hand, pointed to the north, and then said, "The northern barbarians outside the pass are spying on the wealth of my country and intercepting the Xia merchant caravan. This is an enemy of me, an enemy of Xia, and even more of an enemy of you. The enemy is looking down on you soldiers and doesn't take you seriously. Does it think my soldiers are too incompetent? No. Today, At this moment, I want you to let these incompetent, rude, and ignorant northern barbarians know, my soldiers cannot be provoked. Yang Song looked at the soldiers under the stage. Their eyes were full of anger, and ordered, "Deking, listen to my orders. I am." Deking also roared and answered loudly. Chapter 122, Mobilization for the Expedition. I order you to lead the entire infantry brigade to go out today. Go to the northern barbarians. The last few words of this sentence were shouted out by Yang Song with all his strength, and it sounded a little broken. I obey your order. Deking also roared loudly, and accepted the king's order. Then he turned to the soldiers behind him, clenched his right fist, and raised it hard, saying, "I will not return until the enemy camp is destroyed. I will not return until the enemy camp is destroyed. I will not return until the enemy camp is destroyed." The soldiers of the entire brigade followed, and roared for a long time, as if this could vent the anger in their hearts. Looking at those pairs of eyes full of anger, Yang Song's chest blood was also boiling. If it weren't for his long-term calmness and rationality, he would have wanted to follow the soldiers, to fight the enemy at this moment. Yang Song took a deep breath, watching the well-disciplined soldiers calm down, after shouting for a while, and then ordered, "Zhang Wei, listen to the order. I'm here." Zhang Wei stepped out and replied loudly, "I order you to lead the guard battalion, to guard the Qian Pass and protect the border of the country." Yang Song's plan had been made long ago. The main force of this expedition was Deking's infantry brigade, and the gap in the Qian Pass would be filled by the guard battalion that had just been in battle for a short time. "I obey your orders. I will not let you down." Zhang Wei also clasped his fists and loudly accepted the order, turned to the soldiers of the guard battalion, and also clenched his right fist, and raised it up hard, saying, "The people are in the prison. The people are in the prison. The people are in the prison." Although there are not many soldiers in the guard battalion, and they are not complete, their oars have already shown their determination to their monarch. When Yang Song heard this, what he thought in his heart was, people are in the prison, and they will always be there. In other aspects, it was the order he gave to Yang Zong and Yang Ren, before coming to the Qian Pass, recruit 10,000 militiamen, to protect the Xia kingdom and transport food and grass. As the saying goes, food and grass must go before the three armies move. In addition to the soldiers fighting in the front, there are also logistical supplies and peace in the rear when marching and fighting. History has proved that an army without food and grass supplies is just a paper tiger. Peace in the rear means not dragging its feet. Don't let the front fight, but the rear fight for power and quarrel endlessly. In this way, who dares to fight hard on the front line? Fortunately, today's Xia kingdom does not have these drawbacks. As long as there is the support of Yang Song, the monarch, no one can drag their feet, or no one dares to drag their feet. This time, the material convoy that came with Yang Song also transported 10 homemade artillery pieces from Xia kingdom. Since it was named City Defense Artillery, let it play its due role. Anyway, the guard battalion is not equipped with artillery, but they have all been trained how to use artillery. The reason for the training is for the arrival of this day, waiting for the birth of Xia Kingdom's homemade artillery. As long as Xia Kingdom's arsenal has the ability to produce artillery, it doesn't matter what the performance parameters are, as long as it is qualified, it will not be restricted by system tasks in the future. Moreover, there are only 4 tasks issued by the system, and only one has been completed so far. He opened the task panel of the system, and looked at the task. The first stage of the main task was displayed as completed. Main task 1, establish a large rear area, establish a stable large rear area, to prepare for the development of a new world. Task reward, unknown. First stage, completed, build a territory. Expand the territory, and develop the territory. Only in this way, can we move forward and not relax or retreat. Task reward, a conventional infantry brigade. Yang Song still doesn't know how he completed this task. Apart from this, the rewards of the first stage are quite rich. In addition to the conventional infantry brigade indicated, there is also an unspecified channel to open up the outside world. This expedition is that this conventional infantry brigade will attack the local forces outside the pass along this open channel. After Yang Song showed his face to boost morale, he returned to the main tent of the camp, sat in the main seat, looked at the people below, and said to Deking, This time, the target of the foreign expedition is the 4 small territories outside the Great Wall. After Yang Song finished talking about the target, he went on to explain the reason. According to the intelligence sent back by the merchant Captain Sun Sheng, it is only these 4 small territories that are enemies of the Xia Kingdom this time. They have united to violate the trade treaty and prevented the caravan from returning. I guess they are eyeing the precious goods in the caravan and taking risks for the sake of profit. They are really ignorant. After Yang Song finished talking about the cause and effect, he sighed and said, "What on earth do the people in this world think? Without knowing the strength of the other party, they dare to give it a try for a little profit. Do you really think that the so-called Continental Convention can protect them? Even if the Xia Kingdom does not occupy it, won't it be destroyed? Won't it damage it? Or do you think that the soldiers of the Xia Kingdom will not kill people?" Then Yang Song told Deking, "We don't know how many troops the other side has when they unite this time, but according to Chen Ping's estimate, the total force of the 4 small territories is about 15,000 to 20,000. You should pay more attention." "Yes, I obey your order," Deking said confidently. "I will make these chickens and dogs disappear into ashes." Yang Song nodded and agreed. This expedition will focus on destruction, damage, and plunder, especially food. We will rob as much as we can. Remember, we are going to collect debts, not to occupy. He doesn't care what kind of harm the other side's civilians suffer in the war, or what sequelae there are after the war. He just wants to let the other side know the consequences of offending the Xia Kingdom and offending him. As for why they don't occupy, it's because the current Xia Kingdom is not yet strong enough to be an enemy of the whole world. So this time, after the fight, they will still retreat. The second is to open up the passage to the caravan, so that Zhao Wu, Chang Sun Sheng and others can come back. Pay attention to the other 3 larger territories, to prevent them from uniting more forces again. Yang Song said the biggest hidden danger of this expedition outside the pass. If the other 3 larger territories also unite, then Yang Song can only settle for the second best, just take back the caravan. If it is just to open up the passage to Zhao Wu, Chang Sun Sheng and their caravans, it is actually very simple, but for the interests of Xia state, it has to be a bit rough. So Yang Song added, if the other 3 territories also unite, take back the caravan and retreat to Qianqian Pass. This is the last bottom line. After the worst result occurs, the infantry brigade can only retreat to Qianqian Pass, because the combined strength of the 7 territories is very terrible, and it is estimated that there are at least 100,000 troops. Even if the weapons and systems are backward, they still cannot win, after reaching a certain number ratio. He doesn't have any super weapons. Qianqian Pass is the last line of defense of Xia state, so this is the last bottom line. Yang Song didn't even dare to think about the consequences of losing the Qianqian Pass. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, North of the Chasm. If there is a crisis in the natural moat, then it will be a desperate battle. Yang Song will use all the forces in Xia country here, no matter old or young, male or female. Everyone will come to defend the natural moat. Oh, I hope this won't happen. Yang Song sighed in his heart. After the worst case scenario, even if Xia country wins in the end, there will be nothing left. After more than 3 years of hard work, he finally got this piece of land. He doesn't want to go back to 3 years ago. Please rest assured, Your Majesty, I will never let this happen. Deking clasped his fists and said to Yang Song solemnly, I'm willing to take the lives of the entire brigade to guarantee it. Yang Song waved his hands and said, this is just the worst case scenario. The art of war says, before you expect victory, you must expect defeat. I'm just making the worst plan. He turned to Zhang Wei and instructed, Zhang Wei, you must guard this place well. This is the throat of the Xia Kingdom. Don't lose it. Yes, Your Majesty, I will definitely guard the Qianqian Pass. Zhang Wei clasped his fists and accepted the order solemnly. The first wall of the Qianqian Pass has not been completed yet. According to the report of the construction team, it will take at least another month. From the opening of the passage, the discovery of the Cheyenne Pass, and the first time to build it, it has been built for almost half a year. The wall facing the northern forces is basically almost completed. The only thing left is that some supporting facilities have not been erected. For example, the watchtowers and enemy towers on the city walls have not been completed. There are not many city defense materials such as fallen rocks, wood, and kerosene. The 1 kilometer long pass wall is 12 meters high and 7 meters thick. It uses boulders as the main material, steel bars and cement as filling materials, and special bricks are used to build auxiliary facilities. Such a wall is not indestructible, but it is also a dangerous pass. It was only when Yang Song learned that the wall of the pass was built that he dared to transfer the infantry brigade led by Deking. With the Cheyenne Pass, Zhang Wen's guard camp and the assisting militia have been able to make Yang Song worry-free. And this wall is the first side, and it is expected that another side will be built on the slope outside this wall. In this way, after the Cheyenne Pass is repaired, there will be 2 walls in the north, one in front and one behind, one high and one low, and the defense capability will be doubled. Even if the enemy occupies the first wall, our soldiers on the second side can still attack from a high position. Equip artillery on both walls, and the firepower of the 2 walls will not be afraid of any enemy attack. Think about it, the enemy attacks the pass with overwhelming force. After rushing up the slope with difficulty, they will face endless artillery attacks. There are cliffs on both sides of the slope, and the enemy has no place to escape. Even if they fight against huge losses, and ignore the casualties, to rush to the city wall, they find that even the siege weapons cannot be pushed up in this place. The enemy soldiers can only look at the iron wall in front of them, and under the attack of the Zaire country's defensive soldiers, they can only die here. But the strongest wall in the world must be guarded by someone, and the pass without people is meaningless. Finally, after Yang Song finished giving all the instructions, he stood up, took a deep breath, and said loudly, "This battle will win." Others also stood up and shouted together, "We will win. We will win." In order to prevent the Zaire country from sending troops, Kevin's territory set up several checkpoints on the northern passage. These checkpoints are used to monitor and transmit the enemy's situation backwards. After half a year, even the most confused people will find the existence of the passage. There is a slope several kilometers long to the north of Cheyenne Pass, and then there is the mountainous area, and the small town, where Kevin is located, is on the edge of the northern mountainous area. In this section of the mountainous area, there live many mountain people belonging to Kevin's territory. Without this passage, these mountain people even have difficulty leaving the mountain. Although the current passage has caused a lot of damage to these mountain people, it has also facilitated their travel in disguise. On such a passage, there are no civilians now, and there are only a few checkpoints. Hans, you said that we have been guarding here for more than half a month. Will the territory in the south be afraid? A bored militiaman who stayed in the checkpoint chatted with his equally bored companion beside him. The companion stretched lazily, yawned, and replied indistinctly, "Ah, what a grey road." The militiaman looked at his companion's yawn and couldn't help but yawn with him. The companion blinked, wiped the eye budgets from the corners of his eyes with the back of his hand, and said, "Wouldn't it be better if I didn't come? I just want the Lord to let me go back earlier. The land at home is waiting for me to go." The militia nodded and agreed. "That's right. I don't know what's going on. The Lord has conscripted us. Hey, I can have a meal here, but I don't know how my family is doing." After the militia finished speaking, he was waiting for his companion to respond, but he saw that his companion was looking forward, with his back to him, ignoring him. He asked in a dissatisfied tone, "Hey, why don't you talk?" After the militia asked, he felt that his companion was a little bit wrong. He walked around his companion's back and saw that his companion was staring at the front, and his body was a little trembling. He looked in that direction, in the direction of his companion's eyes. Oh my god. The militiaman looked at the south of the passage, trembling all over, and pushed his stiff companion, shouting in fear, "Yes, yes, it's the enemy. Run." Only to the south of the checkpoint, an army turned out from the end of the passage and pressed forward with great momentum. The other people at the checkpoint, like the two of them, saw that there was really an army attacking, and they all fled to the rear in a very embarrassed manner. The function of these checkpoints is to monitor and report, and there are not many people, so they will run so fast. And the army they saw was the vanguard of the infantry brigade sent by the Zaire Kingdom, the regular battalion. The 1,100 regular battalions were tasked with clearing obstacles. Deakin gave them the task of clearing various checkpoints on the marching route and clearing the roads for the main force of the entire army. At the same time, they also played the role of attracting the enemy's attention. There was no need for the Zaire Kingdom to launch a surprise attack. The slogan at launch this time was, "Punish disbelief." As long as there was this slogan, sending troops to attack openly and honestly could prevent the intervention of the other three territories to a large extent. In addition, the infantry brigade has only 3,500 soldiers, but has strong firepower and superior combat power, so it is suitable for a head-on confrontation. And even if a surprise attack is to be launched, it will be useless under the vigilance of the opponent's various checkpoints. The enemy has long been prepared to respond. Since they dare to intercept the caravan, then the enemy will dare to fight me. In short, due to a combination of various reasons, Deakin and Lusu decided on this war to defeat the enemy with force. General. Vanguard Army Report. On the way to the march, the guard took the letter from the messenger who returned from the front and handed it to Deakin. Deakin slowed down his horse, reversed the whip, opened the letter, unfolded it and began to read. After reading it, he smiled slightly, handed it to Lusu who was looking at him, and said, "The staff officer should also take a look." Chapter 124 Before the battle. Lusu took the military report and read it carefully. The content of the military report said that all the checkpoints in the passage had been cleared, and the location of the enemy's army had been found. Now they just had to wait for the arrival of the army. After reading the military report, Lusu handed it back to Deakin and said with a smile, "Everything went well, General, we can speed up and catch up." Deakin nodded and ordered his personal soldiers, "Order the army to speed up." They were going to meet with the vanguard, and then they would fight the enemy. As the vanguard's regular battalion, they took every step carefully, did not rush forward rashly, and advanced steadily. The sporadic enemies they encountered did not resist consciously after seeing their scale. The forward scouts also reported to the vanguard regular battalion, telling the enemy's gathering place, that is, the battlefield where the first battle was about to take place. Kevin was in the castle, waiting for the caravan to return. He was ready to rob on the road. Even if the treasures that made him covet were sold by the caravan, he would still rob. With so many extremely valuable treasures, the gold coins, after they are sold, are inevitable, and what he wants to snatch are these gold coins after they are sold. Kevin sat on his beloved throne as usual, thinking, with so many treasures, there must be at least thousands or tens of thousands of gold coins. Hey, how great it would be if those treasures had not been sold. Although there are many gold coins, he has seen them, but these treasures are really, once you miss them, you will never have them again. And he also sent soldiers to close the passage, so it will be even more impossible to see them in the future. Kevin is still dreaming his sweet dream, but what he doesn't know is that he is about to face a disaster. What he thinks is a heavy guard, in the eyes of Deakin and Lusu, are all just a mob. My lord, the territory in the south has sent troops to attack us. The second knight hurriedly walked into the hall from outside the hall. Kevin was imagining a mountain of gold coins, rolling and laughing on it, but the second knight's report interrupted his fantasy, and he subconsciously said, "What? Who attacked whom?" The second knight looked at the stunned expression of the lord, and had to report again, "It's the territory behind the caravan that sent troops to attack us." "What? They dare to send troops?" Kevin said in disbelief. "Outside the passage, this lord has stationed 6,000 troops. After the alliance, their 4 territories each sent 3,000 troops, and the total force reached 12,000 people. In order to intimidate Zaire State, half of them were divided out. In the eyes of these 4 lords, with these 6,000 troops, Zaire State would not dare to send troops to rescue the caravan, as long as it was sensible, and Zaire State could only watch them seize this huge wealth. But I didn't expect that Zaire State was so ignorant. It still sent troops to die. Kevin was a little bit unconvinced and asked with an ugly face, "How many soldiers does the other side have?" He thought that, since the other side dared to send troops, they must have sent out a large number of troops. He was a little worried now that there were too many troops in Xia State and they could not cope with it. As for what Chang San Sheng said to him when he was on a diplomatic mission, that Xia State had 100,000 warriors, he did not believe it at all. In Kevin's opinion, in this remote place, the powerful territory was only the level of the 3 baronies in the north. Even if it was such a baron, the 4 of them united to fight against it. They had not fought together before, and he thought that the so-called Xia State in the south did not have many treasures in its territory. This time, it should be that the other side was short of food in its territory, so they had to sell these treasures. Kevin did not understand, but it did not mean that others did not understand. After the alliance, the 4 territories came together, and through their own experiences and analysis, they believed that the purpose of the caravan was food. And they did not believe that in such a remote place, a territory really had millions of civilians and 100,000 soldiers. Therefore, Kevin was shocked and unbelievable after learning that Xia State really sent troops. "My lord, the enemy's army is still the same as what we saw on the city wall, just over 1,000. The second knight's answer made Kevin's worries disappear without a trace, but then came doubts. He asked, "Is the enemy really here to die?" "I don't know, but if the enemy's army is really just this small, then they are really here to die." The second knight thought about it and answered Kevin's doubts carefully. The information Kevin and the second knight got was only the vanguard of the infantry brigade. In their small place, there is no such thing as vanguard in war. Haha, really stupid. Do you think this lord has no preparation like last time? Kevin laughed and said, "Go tell the first knight to entertain our guests well." The second knight frowned. He didn't believe that the other party didn't know the situation on his side, but he couldn't figure out why the other party only sent so few people. He couldn't figure it out, so he had to accept the order. "Yes, my lord." On a hillside in the passage, a large area of tents was built, and all kinds of strange tents covered the entire hillside. The passage is at the bottom of the hillside. In a large tent on the uphill, the first knight received Kevin's letter and smiled at the other knights. "Dear brave knights, the lord asked us to entertain our guests." Haha. After that, the other 3 knights also laughed, as if they heard something happy. The other 3 knights came from the other 3 territories. They united and set up camp in this passage to prevent the enemy from sending troops to rescue again. The 4 of them thought this was a very boring task, but they didn't expect that the other side actually sent troops. What made them happy was that the other side's troops were only so few. Although they looked difficult to deal with, they had a full 6,000 troops here, which was more than 5 times the number of the other side. With such a big advantage, how could they be afraid? Brave knights, who is willing to issue a declaration of war to the other side? The first knight looked at the other 3 and asked casually. Although there is no distinction between the 4 of them, and the command is also discussed, this time is in Kevin's territory after all, so the status of the first knight is a little higher. This is the unspoken rule between the 4 territories. When fighting in someone's territory, the knight of this territory will be the main person in charge. As soon as the voice fell, a burly knight with a full beard said, "I will go. I must let these enemies who came out of nowhere know the power of this knight." "Okay, then the brave Knight Bobby will go, and the rest of us will wait here for good news from Knight Bobby." Chapter 125, Battle. General. The vanguard said that this was sent by the enemy. The personal soldier took out something and handed it to Deking. Deking took it and saw that it was a scroll of letters made of some unknown leather. He couldn't understand the content inside, so he said, "Call someone who understands these." Soon, an intelligence officer came to translate it. This time, Yang Song sent some intelligence officers who knew the local language to act with the army in the name of facilitating communication and communication. The letter of war said that a battle would be agreed tomorrow morning, and those who ran away would be cowards. When Deking heard that this was a letter of war, he was overjoyed and said, "It's really a way to die." He was just discussing with Lu Su how to make the enemy fight them head on, but he didn't expect that the enemy was more anxious than them. "General, since the enemy dares to be so arrogant, they think that they have more people and we have fewer people, and we can win with more people against fewer people. Lu Su also laughed and immediately figured out the enemy's idea. Deking smiled and said, "That's right. Since the enemy is in a hurry to die, let's help them. Order. The whole army must meet with the vanguard today." Deking's order was quickly conveyed, and the army's speed increased again. Such a marching speed consumes a lot of physical strength of the soldiers. Fortunately, it has been agreed that the battle will start tomorrow, and there is still time to rest tonight. Deking and Lu Su also thought about not being tired of deception. First, let the regular campers, the vanguard, accept the challenge. When they are in the heat of the battle, their main forces will rush out from the side, and the enemy will surely be defeated. But in order to be on the safe side, they are afraid that the enemy has some secret weapons, so it is better to gather the troops together so that they can respond in time if anything happens. The main force led by Deking successfully met with the vanguard before dark that day, waiting for the battle to start tomorrow. Although they are not afraid that the other party will not keep their promises and launch a night attack, they still say that they are on the safe side. Deking is still prepared to deal with it. Nothing happened overnight. Early the next morning, Deking looked at the enemy camp on the opposite hillside. There was a passage several kilometers wide between the two armies. He thought to himself, these enemies are still very trustworthy. As for whether there is a saying in this world that all is fair in war, Deking and his men don't know, but from this time, the enemy's thinking seems to be ancient. First agree on the time and place of the war, and before the date arrives, each will prepare, and there will be no sneak attack. When the time comes, the two armies will set up their formations, and then order the attack at the same time. I just don't know if the people in this world really have this idea. But before obtaining more intelligence, Deking and Lu Su can only act cautiously. Lu Su looked at the sky and asked Deking, who was observing the opposite side with a monocular telescope, "General, there is still some time before the war starts. What tactics should we use?" Hearing this, Deking put down the monocular telescope in his hand, turned around and walked towards the military tent, saying as he walked, "Let the soldiers cook first, and we will go to the military tent to talk." "Yes." Lu Su clasped his fists and accepted the order, then asked his personal soldiers to cook, and he followed Deking to the military tent. On the opposite hillside, 4 knights were also watching the enemies on the opposite hillside. The enemies have increased. The first knight said with a bit of an ugly face. The faces of the other people were also ugly. They looked at the neat and orderly camp on the opposite hillside, and a large area of tents had been added. Knight Bobby continued, "The other side should be the reinforcement that came last night. Judging from the number of tents, there should be 3,000 or 4,000 people on the opposite side. It is precisely because the specifications of the conventional brigade tents are too consistent that it is convenient for them to make statistical estimates. But looking at the number of people can only see the surface things, and the real combat power will only be reflected in the fight. Don't be afraid, we still have twice as many as them." The first knight heaved a sigh of relief and said, "This should be the confidence of the other side to send troops." Another knight who was a little fat agreed, "Yes, as long as we win this battle today, we will have no worries." The last knight was a young man, and he said a little worriedly, "I heard that the other side's equipment is very complete and very orderly. I'm afraid." Before the young knight finished speaking, he was interrupted by the first knight who waved his hand and said, "Don't be afraid. With so many people and several brave knights, I believe we will win." The first knight actually didn't say another sentence, that is, they had issued a declaration of war and had twice as many people as the other side. They were still scared away. They won't be able to see anyone in the future. The other knights also knew this, so they didn't say anything discouraging. Even if their faces were ugly just now, it was because they were shocked by the sudden extra people of the enemy. Therefore, they were waiting for the time of the battle with full confidence. As for tactics, how to fight, none of them. Isn't fighting about letting soldiers take up their weapons and rush forward under the command of these knights? The tent of the regular infantry brigade of the Zaya Kingdom was full of officers. Deking sat in the upper seat and ordered, "Regular battalion and heavy battalion, receive the order. Order your 2 divisions to line up in the front, the regular battalion on the left and the heavy battalion on the right." The 2 battalion commanders stood up, clasped their fists and said, "I obey your orders." After seeing the 2 men receive the order from Lu Su, Deakin continued to order the artillery formation to be in the back, and the long-range attack formation and light cavalry formation to guard the two wings of the entire army. Then the commanders of the three formations stood up, clasped their fists, and received the order, saying, "I obey your orders." Finally, Deakin gave a strict order: 1 hour before the battle, everyone must arrive at the designated position. "Yes, I will obey your order." This is a tactic that Deakin and Lu Su discussed. After discussing it, with an upright momentum, they directly pressed the enemy. Even if the opponent has twice as many troops as them, what does it matter? It's not an enemy that is 10 or 100 times stronger than them. After repeated inquiries, Deakin confirmed that the other side was a complete mob. There were no weeds or trees cleared around the disorganized camp. If it weren't for the purpose of showing off the military might of the Xia kingdom, they would have wanted to set the other side on fire and burn down the camp. As time got closer to the moment of the battle, the soldiers of both armies watched the other side finish their battle array. The difference was that the soldiers of the infantry brigade were serious throughout the whole process, without any wavering in their expressions, and they lined up in an orderly manner. After the battle array was completed, they stood still, waiting for military orders. On the other side, they were noisy, and finally stood in position under the scolding of the officers. From a distance, they did not have any momentum. A quarter of an hour before the battle, 4 wildebeests galloped out on the opposite hillside, and one of them shouted something to the infantry brigade. These were the 4 knights on the opposite side, and the one who shouted was the first knight of Kevin's territory. He led 3 other knights and shouted to the infantry brigade, "Listen, knights, commanders, on the opposite side, we have 4 knights and 6,000 troops. Don't rush to your death, surrender quickly." After the intelligence personnel translated, Deakin's side also knew that the other side was challenging him. Deakin laughed contemptuously and said, "Don't pay any attention to it, just wait for the battle to start." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.